Chapter 847. Strictly speaking, a heavenly abode treasure restriction was superior to a precious cauldron of the same level in terms of its content and the profoundness of its composition. However, in fact, in the cultivation world, the value of a precious cauldron treasure restriction was slightly higher than that of a precious cauldron treasure restriction. The fundamental reason was the scarcity of a precious cauldron treasure restriction and the incomplete inheritance, while the inheritance of a heavenly abode treasure restriction was much more complete. Speaking of the inheritance of a precious cauldron treasure restriction, one had to mention Taoist Gui of the seventh patriarch of creation. There had always been a saying in the cultivation world, which was acknowledged by many alchemists, that it was precisely because of this Taoist Gui's laziness that the inheritance of a precious cauldron treasure restriction was incomplete. Back then, Jiao Daoren and Taoist Gui made an agreement to establish an overseas cultivation world. Jiao Daoren established the East Sea cultivation world, which was as rich as the Central Earth cultivation world, and then the North Sea cultivation world, while Taoist Gui slept in the South Sea for over 1,000 years. In the end, he barely managed to establish the South Sea cultivation world. After the seventh patriarch established the cultivation world, the seven Laozu made an agreement to pass on their Tao. Among the seven Laozu, Taoist Gui's alchemy skills were undoubtedly the best. The other Laozu had systematically and meticulously passed on their respective knowledge, and in the following tens of thousands of years, the cultivation world had developed various new inheritances. Taoist Gui was the only one who was exceptionally lazy. Unlike the other Laozu who would give lectures every 3 to 5 years, Taoist Gui would usually give lectures every 7 to 8 years, and he would often miss, change, or even cancel his lectures because he was asleep. Taoist Gui's laziness made countless cultivators who came to listen to his lectures very dissatisfied, but they could do nothing about it. Many cultivators had tried to persuade Taoist Gui through the other 6 Laozu to maintain a regular pattern in his lectures, but Taoist Gui still did as he pleased. Until the era of the seventh patriarch of the Sky Splitter, Taoist Gui had only passed on the various cultivation methods of the turtle bloodline, but he had only taught 3 of the alchemy cauldrons he had left behind. In the end, he did not have time to explain the rest. Based on these 3 ordinary alchemy cauldrons, no matter how many alchemy cauldrons were developed in the cultivation world in the future, they could never break through the barrier of ordinary alchemy cauldrons. It was said in the cultivation world that Taoist Gui had only passed down the 3 restrictions of the common magic cauldrons, but not the psychic magic treasures of the cauldrons. However, there was another rumor that Taoist Gui had actually left behind some psychic magic treasures of the cauldrons. It was just that the 5 Holy Lands and the Crystal Palace had kept these treasures as their own treasures, and other sects and cultivators had no way of knowing about them. At present, among the cultivators present, there were quite a few people who had come for the heavenly abode. However, although exchanging for the mark of the heavenly abode was not as outrageous as exchanging for the silver spirit flame and a top-grade alchemy cauldron, it was not so easy to exchange for something. The cultivator hurriedly put away the treasure and then left the hut as if he was fleeing. Although many cultivators like Lu Ping had misunderstood this cultivator just now, it still brought him a lot of pressure. However, the heavenly abode was also a rare treasure. Many cultivators present had come for the heavenly abode, but after seeing that the treasure had been exchanged, they could only shake their heads regretfully and leave. There were also a few who simply chased after the cultivator who had just left. At this time, Lu Ping did not dare to hesitate, fearing that there would be another change, so he hurriedly walked forward and took out a brocade box covered with spirit sealing talismans from his storage magic tool. After opening the brocade box in front of him, the shield in front of the stone platform was immediately opened and the brocade box in his hand disappeared. Lu Ping grabbed the silver spirit flame in his hand, and then the flame disappeared from Lu Ping's hand. Then, like the cultivator just now, Lu Ping hurriedly walked outside. He exchanged for it. What he exchanged for it? How is that possible? What did he use to exchange for it? A top-grade alchemy cauldron? Could it be the amethyst royal jelly? It looks like he is just a minor repairs cultivator at the core forging stage. Follow him. Suddenly, 7 or 8 people followed behind Lu Ping, and from their figures and auras, they seemed to be at the Dharma stage. Lu Ping secretly complained in his heart. The cultivators behind him did not stop him, but just followed closely behind him, which made Lu Ping feel somewhat helpless. At this time, two strong divine senses suddenly attacked from behind. When they approached behind Lu Ping, the two divine senses simultaneously imprinted two divine senses on Lu Ping's body. As long as Lu Ping left the underground palace, the owner of the two divine senses would be able to find Lu Ping through the imprints. At that time, with the cultivation of the two divine senses masters at the Dharma stage, could the person in front of them still escape? The two secretly imprinted the imprints on Lu Ping. Just as they were secretly happy, they suddenly felt the connection between the divine senses and the two imprints suddenly disappear. Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? The two cultivators immediately stopped in their tracks. This person was definitely not a core forging stage cultivator. Then, the two of them separated themselves from the group of cultivators who were chasing Lu Ping. Another two divine senses were sent out, this time more directly. The two divine senses joined forces and rushed towards Lu Ping's mind. They wanted to destroy Lu Ping's divine senses in one fell swoop. Then, Lu Ping would definitely faint because of the collapse of his divine senses. At that time, the two cultivators behind him would be able to openly divide the treasures on Lu Ping's body. However, what the two did not see was that at this time, Lu Ping seemed to be playing with an ancient magic treasure that looked like a small flag as he walked. They saw Lu Ping holding the small flag and gently shaking it. It seemed that he was checking whether the small flag could still be used. At that moment, among the 5 cultivators who were still following Lu Ping, 2 of them suddenly shouted. Their hands covered their heads. One of them took 2 steps back while the other one squatted down. Lu Ping's footsteps did not stop. The remaining 3 cultivators looked at the 2 cultivators who suddenly shouted and hesitated for a moment. One of them only paused for a moment before turning around and leaving. Lu Ping and the 7 cultivators who were following him exchanged blows. Although they were all secretly using their divine senses, 4 of them were defeated one after another. This was not something that a core forging stage minor repairs could do. The person in front of them must be a core forging stage cultivator who used a secret technique to hide his cultivation. The remaining 2 seemed to be unwilling to give up and continued to chase after Lu Ping. However, they didn't take any drastic measures and only followed closely behind Lu Ping so that he wouldn't be shaken off. When they reached a place where there were few people, Lu Ping suddenly stopped and turned to look at the 2 cultivators behind him. He said, "Why are you 2 following me like this?" One of them beat him to it and said, "Fellow Taoist, please excuse me. I don't have any ill intentions following you. I just want to ask if the silver spirit flame is something that you need. If you don't need it to refine your Jindan, I want to ask if you are willing to part with the silver spirit flame. I'm willing to exchange for it with enough treasures." Lu Ping asked with a smile that was not a smile, "Enough? Then why didn't you exchange for the silver spirit flame just now?" The man smiled bitterly and said, "The exchange method listed by the owner of that hut just now was really unbearable. Although I'm confident that I'm not weak, forget about the pill furnace, I really don't have any top-grade spirit materials over 5,000 years old and the purple crystal royal jelly. However, I do have other treasures on me, so it's not like I don't have anything that fellow Taoist needs. As long as fellow Taoist takes a liking to it, I won't say anything." Seeing that Lu Ping still did not move, the man could not help but increase the bargaining chip and said, "And although I can't give you something like a top-grade pill furnace, the value of the other things added up is definitely not lower than a top-grade pill furnace. What do you think?" Seeing Lu Ping's silence, the cultivator thought Lu Ping was already tempted. Hence, he decided to take advantage of the situation and continue his attack. His aura surged and a rich medicinal aroma permeated the surroundings. "Fellow Taoist, I'll be honest with you. I'm an alchemist and this silver spirit fire is exactly what I've been yearning for. If you're willing to exchange the spirit fire with me, you can come to me in the future if you have any alchemy needs. Even if you enter the avatar realm in the future, I'll still be able to help you." Although this man did not mention an alchemy grandmaster, his words revealed his identity as an alchemy grandmaster and he seemed to be very confident. If it was any other cultivator, Being able to get the recognition of an alchemy grandmaster on the basis of equivalent exchange would be a profitable deal no matter what. However, he did not know that the cultivator standing in front of him was also an alchemy grandmaster, and his alchemy skills might not be lower than his. Lu Ping was too lazy to say more. The aura around him fluctuated, and a rich pill fragrance that was not weaker than his spread around his body. Although the friar's face was covered by a black cloak, Lu Ping could guess the interesting expression on his face at this time. Sure enough, the friar smiled bitterly and said, "I am showing off my slight skill in front of an expert. I am ashamed. Goodbye." The alchemy grandmaster left in a hurry. Lu Ping looked at the only cultivator who still did not leave. The man seemed to sense something and took a step forward, saying, "I did not expect your excellency to be an alchemy grandmaster. I have been disrespectful." Lu Ping nodded slightly and asked, "What is your excellency's plan?" The man pondered for a moment and said, "Was the treasure that your excellency used to exchange for the amethyst royal jelly?" Lu Ping was startled for a moment and said, "No." The man replied with an "oh," and his interest seemed to grow even greater as he said, "So your excellency used the second method to exchange for the silver capital spirit flame? This is a little surprising. I wonder if your excellency can tell me what you used to exchange for the silver capital spirit flame. If your excellency still has such a spiritual item, I wonder if you can use it to exchange? I am willing to use other treasures to exchange for it." Lu Ping shook his head and said, "It is already very rare for me to have such a treasure. How could I have a second one to exchange for? I am sorry to disappoint your excellency." The man nodded and said, "That is true. In that case, there is no need to trouble your excellency. If your excellency has any needs in the future, you can come to Mysterious Sky Ancient City's Treasure Pavilion. My treasure pavilion has always bought and sold all kinds of rare treasures. As the treasure pavilion's shopkeeper, I will do my best to satisfy your excellency's needs." Having said that, the man cupped his fists towards Lu Ping and turned to leave. This caused Lu Ping to be confused for a moment. It took him a long time to realize that the other party was trying to befriend him after seeing that there was no hope of obtaining the silver capital spirit flame and exchanging it for the silver capital spirit flame. After all, an alchemy grandmaster was worth anyone's effort to win over. Chapter 848. After a whole day, Lu Ping did not gain anything else. However, Lu Ping did not care. Just one silver spirit flame was enough to make Lu Ping satisfied. In the evening, Lu Ping returned to his exhibition room. Because the Profound Sky sect would open the entire underground palace after the evening bell rang, all the cultivators would be teleported out of the underground palace. So, at this time, most of the cultivators in the underground palace had returned to their exhibition rooms and put away all the treasures on display, regardless of whether they had been successfully exchanged or not. In the end, Lu Ping did not go to the pavilions where the 5 sacred lands, the Profound Sky sect, and the Crystal Palace were located to see if the spiritual vein essence and lightning tribulation water had changed the method of exchange. He also did not know if Xie Tianyang had already exchanged the spiritual vein essence with the Profound Sky sect. It was not that he did not want to go, but he really did not have any bargaining chips. In order to be able to exchange for the Heaven Middle Grade Silver Spirit Flame, Lu Ping did not even hesitate to take out a 9th grade White Jade Lotus Seed and 2 spiritual monster peaches. Only then did he finally exchange for the Silver Spirit Flame. Originally, Lu Ping wanted to use the spiritual monster peach to exchange for the Silver Spirit Flame. Although the spiritual monster peach had ripened for at most a few hundred years, it was a fruit of the spiritual monster peach tree after all. Its effect was completely comparable to a top-grade spiritual treasure that was thousands of years old. However, using this method, Lu Ping would need at least 5 or 6 spiritual monster peaches. Moreover, Lu Ping had refined medicinal pills for several years, and now there were only a few spiritual monster peaches left. If he gave away the last few, Lu Ping was afraid that he would have to wait for more than 100 years for the next fruit of the spiritual monster peach tree to ripen. In desperation, Lu Ping could only reluctantly take out a precious lotus seed to exchange for the Heaven Middle Grade Spirit Flame. After returning to the hut, Lu Ping was a little surprised to see that the stone platform was mostly empty. The Meridian Nourishing Pellet was traded for more than a dozen Mystic-grade high-grade spirit items. The 10 years Longevity Pellet was also traded for a Heaven-grade low-grade spirit item, and the Gold Nut was even more valuable. Lu Ping wondered if he had set the price a little too low. The 3 soul-calming incense sticks were also traded away. Additionally, the one who traded them away had deliberately left a jade slip on the stone platform. Lu Ping checked the contents of the jade slip and found that the one who traded away the soul-calming incense was the same cultivator who traded away the soul-calming incense yesterday. In the message left on the jade slip, this cultivator went straight to the point and hoped that if Lu Ping had any extra soul incense to sell, he could come to the treasure pavilion in the mysterious Sky Ancient City for a face-to-face discussion after the end of the underground trade fair. Lu Ping was slightly startled. It was actually the treasure pavilion again. He did not know if this person was the shopkeeper of the treasure pavilion that he met when he was trading for the Silver Capital's Spirit Flame. In addition, Lu Ping also placed 150 high-grade spirit stones on each of the 3 stone platforms to exchange for mid-grade mystic-ranked spirit items. In fact, yesterday, Lu Ping had placed 400 high-grade spirit stones, hoping to trade for a mid-grade earth-ranked spirit item like the day before. Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to him for the entire day. Yesterday, after learning from Xian Tian's spiritual master that what Zhenling really needed was a large number of mystic-ranked spirit items, Lu Ping simply began to use spirit stones to exchange for mystic-ranked spirit items. If using high-grade spirit stones to exchange for earth-ranked spirit items was only a possibility, then the possibility of exchanging for mystic-ranked spirit items was much higher. After all, mystic phase weren't like earth phase that could only be chanced upon and not sought after. Furthermore, the items that could be exchanged were high-grade spirit stones. Due to the difference in the concentration of spirit chi in spirit stones, high-grade spirit stones had many more miraculous uses than mid-grade and low-grade spirit stones. In addition, on the last day of the trade fair, many impossible things seemed to have a reason to become logical. Lu Ping's 3 stone platforms had a total of 450 high-grade spirit stones, and he had exchanged for a total of 13 mid-grade and high-grade mystic-ranked spirit items. Although it was extremely unexpected for Lu Ping, this kind of good luck was naturally something that Lu Ping could not ask for more. In addition to the various items exchanged for other miscellaneous items, Lu Ping's 3 days in the underground palace could be considered to be fruitful. After packing up the items, Lu Ping did not wait for the profound sky sex evening bell to ring. Instead, he placed a low-grade mystic-ranked spirit item into a notch in the corner of the small house. With a flash of golden light, Lu Ping had already disappeared from the small house. The method of leaving the underground palace was different from the method of entering. When entering, Lu Ping only needed to use spirit stones to exchange for the medium of teleportation. If he wanted to leave, he needed every cultivator who entered the underground palace to use a low-grade mystic-ranked spirit item as the medium to activate the teleportation array. This low-grade mystic-ranked spirit item would then become the profound sky sex reward for hosting this trade fair. When Lu Ping reappeared, he was already in a woodshed in the backyard of a family in the profound Sky Ancient City. Lu Ping's divine sense swept across and found that although this family was also a cultivator, they were all ordinary blood condensation cultivators. This family was also located in a remote area of the profound Sky Ancient City. Without alerting anyone, Lu Ping easily passed through the simple restriction that this family's cultivators had set up in the small courtyard. Then he walked towards the place where he had previously agreed to meet Xie Tianyang and Sang Yu. In the Heavenly Fragrance Tea House, Lu Ping had changed his appearance the last time he drank tea. Naturally, the shopkeeper and the clever waiter did not recognize him. Lu Ping tossed a mid-grade spirit stone over and had the waiter bring him to a quiet room. He instructed the waiter to serve a pot of top-grade spirit tea and 3 teacups. The waiter understood tacitly. He knew that Lu Ping was telling him that 2 more guests would be arriving in a while and that he only needed to bring the guests to this quiet room. After the waiter left, Lu Ping set up a restriction on the tea table. Only then did he drip a drop of amethyst honey into the teapot. The fragrance overflowed, but it was contained by the restriction on the tea table. This prevented the fragrance from permeating the entire tea house like the last time and startling hundreds of customers who were drinking tea. In the end, the name of the amethyst royal jelly spread throughout the entire profound sky ancient city. When the cup of spirit tea was finished, footsteps could be heard from outside the quiet room. The waiter had already brought Xie Tianyang and Sang Yu in. Xie Tianyang also tossed a mid-grade spirit stone behind him and said generously, "Take it, it's your reward." The waiter happily caught it and sang a beautiful yes. However, he thought to himself, just now, that senior also rewarded me with a mid-grade spirit stone, but he looked indifferent. Although this one also rewarded me with a mid-grade spirit stone, it's like he's giving me a huge gift. He even wants me to be grateful to him. Although these two seniors are generous, there's still a gap between them. However, my luck has been off the charts recently. In just a short month, I've earned 3 mid-grade spirit stones as tips, which is equivalent to my salary for this period of time. Xie Tianyang didn't know if the happy waiter had lowered his status after receiving the reward. However, Lu Ping could tell from Xie Tianyang's tone that he had brought good news. "Brother Xie, Brother Sang, sit down and have a taste of this spirit tea." Lu Ping invited the two to take a seat. Xie Tianyang said first, "I've taken a risk this time, but you're only treating us to tea. How stingy." Sang Yu took the tea from Lu Ping and thanked him. Then, he took a sip and his eyes lit up. Xie Tianyang, who was at the side, said, "However, the matter was finally settled. The Heavenly Profound sect changed the method of exchange at the last moment." Fortunately, this Xie's eyes and hands were sharp. There were many people who were eyeing the high-grade heaven tier Fei. It was also thanks to the sect that I didn't return the high-grade Fei that I extorted from teacher. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to obtain the spirit vein essence milk. Xie Tianyang placed a jade bowl on the tea table and pushed it in front of Lu Ping. He wasn't afraid that Lu Ping wouldn't hand over the boiling sky sword technique. He picked up the teacup in front of him and noticed that Sang Yu had already finished a cup of hot tea and was about to pour a second one. Xie Tianyang pursed his lips and said, "Brother Sang, why are you in such a hurry? It's like a cow chewing on a peony. You're the spirit-taming sex Empyrean walker. Aren't you afraid of being seen as a joke? This tea has to be tasted." Sang Yu didn't say anything. He filled the second cup and started drinking again. At this moment, Xie Tianyang let out a strange cry and glared at Lu Ping. "No way! You put purple crystal honey in it?" Lu Ping, who had just thrown a jade scroll with the boiling sky sword technique in front of Xie Tianyang, smiled and said nothing. Xie Tianyang, on the other hand, drank the spirit tea faster than Sang Yu. He grabbed the teapot and poured himself a cup of tea as he said, "Extravagant. This is too extravagant. What a waste of God's gift." No one knew if he was talking about himself, Sang Yu, or Lu Ping. The three of them chatted for a while before leaving the quiet room and going their separate ways. Lu Ping was about to go downstairs when he saw the waiter hurrying over. He stopped Lu Ping and said, "Senior, please wait. My shopkeeper wants to see you." Lu Ping's expression changed when he heard this. Then, he returned to normal and said, "Do you know why your shopkeeper wants to see me?" The waiter smiled apologetically and said, "How would I know? Senior will know when you see the shopkeeper." Lu Ping thought that his movements were well hidden. The shopkeeper definitely wouldn't recognize him as the person who had spread the news of exchanging purple crystal royal jelly for lightning tribulation water. So he said, "Lead the way." Before Lu Ping could take a few steps, the shopkeeper had already rushed over. His eyes lit up when he saw Lu Ping. He said, "Are you Lu Xinping of the North Sea?" Lu Ping nodded and said, "That's me. Why is the shopkeeper looking for me?" The shopkeeper smiled and said, "I just received an order from the sect. It's Qing Li Laozu who wants to see you." Lu Ping nodded and seemed to have understood something. He said, "Please lead the way, shopkeeper." The shopkeeper walked forward and said, "You don't have to be so polite. My surname is Xin, and I'm a second-generation disciple of Tianxian sect. My cultivation is not good enough, so I can only run this tea house for the sect to make a living." Chapter 849. Lu Ping had heard of the mysterious Sky Mirror Lake for a long time, but it wasn't a place where people could come and enjoy the scenery as they pleased. As the foundation of the mysterious Sky sect and the location of the dojo, even ordinary disciples of the mysterious Sky sect couldn't come here. At this moment, a faint white mark appeared on the surface of the mysterious Sky Mirror Lake. A small boat seemed to be moving slowly but was actually moving quickly toward the pavilion at the center of the lake. The pavilion at the center of the lake was made of some unknown material. It floated on the surface of the water, and there was an old man with gray hair and beard sitting at the side of the pavilion. He held a fishing rod in his hand, and on the stone table in the pavilion, there was tea and other things to entertain guests. Next to the tea, there were 2 brocade boxes, one large and one small, placed on the stone table. The brocade boxes didn't have anything like a spirit sealing talisman on them, so Lu Ping couldn't guess what was inside. However, after the small boat approached, Lu Ping could clearly see that the 2 brocade boxes were engraved with countless runes, causing the 2 boxes to have the effect of sealing spirits. Spirit nurturing box? A thought flashed through Lu Ping's mind. Even if the spirit nurturing box itself was a treasure, how valuable would the item inside be? The small boat arrived in front of the pavilion, and Lu Ping quickly entered the pavilion. He cupped his hands toward the old man and said, "Senior Qing Li, we meet again." The old man fishing next to the pavilion was the 5th great cultivator of the mysterious Sky sect that Lu Ping had met twice before, Qing Li Laozu. Qing Li Laozu slowly withdrew the fishing rod in his hand and pointed at the round stool next to the stone table. His eyes indicated that Qing Li should sit first. Then, he threw the bait on the hook into the lake and sat on the stone bench next to the 2 spirit nurturing boxes. He didn't care about the fishing rod that was thrown into the lake. Qing Li Laozu picked up the teacup on the stone table and took 2 sips. The teacup was made of 1,000-year warm jade. It could keep the tea at an appropriate temperature throughout the year, and the quality of the tea wouldn't change at all. This piece of warm jade was equivalent to a 3rd-level spirit material. "You exchanged for our sect's spiritual vein essence milk in the underground palace?" Qing Li Laozu's words were like a bolt from the blue that exploded in Lu Ping's ears. Lu Ping looked at Qing Li Laozu in shock. The Tianxian sect had indeed tampered with the formation in the underground palace. Otherwise, how could they have known that he had obtained the spiritual vein essence milk? Didn't that mean that his every move in the underground palace was known by the profound Sky sect? Thinking back to the day when he, Xie Tianyang, and Sang Yu plotted in the secret room, the profound Sky sect knew that his identity as the person who spread the news of exchanging the purple crystal royal jelly for the tribulation lightning water was already known by the profound Sky sect. This enigma order was quite audacious. There were hundreds of cultivators inside the underground palace. Many of them belonged to different forces. This move by the enigma order was making enemies. That alone would cause them to be isolated by the entire world of cultivation. Then they would be suppressed. What was the profound Sky sect trying to do? Lu Ping's heart was in a mess and he lost his composure. How could the expression on Lu Ping's face escape Qing Li Laozu's eyes? Qing Li Laozu seemed to have known that Lu Ping would have such a reaction. He smiled faintly and said, "You don't have to be so nervous. The profound Sky sect naturally wouldn't do anything to the underground palace. There are emissaries from the 6 sacred lands there. Under their watchful eyes, how could the profound Sky sect do something like this?" Lu Ping's heart finally calmed down. However, the fact that the profound Sky sect knew that he had obtained the spiritual vein essence milk still made Lu Ping feel uncertain. Could it be that he had been exposed in the heavenly fragrance tea house? However, at that time, Lu Ping had already checked the quiet room he was in and found nothing amiss. Could it be because of Xie Tianyang? Lu Ping's heart skipped a beat, and he heard Qing Li Laozu say, "That kid from the Purple Sun Palace didn't hide his identity when he came to the pavilion to exchange for the spiritual vein essence milk. How could his son Li Fire use the spiritual vein essence milk?" Although the spiritual vein essence milk is rare, for a large sect like the Purple Sun Palace that has gathered more spiritual veins than the profound Sky sect, the amount of spiritual vein essence milk will only be more. With that kid's identity, if he really wanted the spiritual vein essence milk, Would the Purple Sun Palace be stingy with him? Lu Ping suddenly understood and said, "So senior guessed that Xia Tianyang exchanged for the spiritual vein essence milk for someone else. Otherwise, Xia Tianyang could have returned to the sect and asked for it from his elders. Junior cultivates a water cultivation method and has a good relationship with Xia Tianyang. After the Underground Palace Trade Fair ended, we immediately met at the Heavenly Fragrance Tea House, so this spiritual vein essence milk is most likely what Junior needs." Qing Li Laozu nodded and said with a smile, "Originally, this spiritual vein essence milk and the tribulation lightning water that appeared at our sect's trade fair were all aimed at the cultivator who claimed to have the purple crystal royal jelly. However, that person either saw through the plans of the sects or never appeared at the trade fair. However, since little friend Lu has taken a liking to the spirit vein essence milk, you only need to tell this old man. There is no need to go around and beg that Xia Tianyang. Little friend Lu has saved the disciples of our sect and personally killed the cultivators of the Supreme Xian sect to avenge the deaths of our 2 direct disciples. Our sect should offer a portion of the spirit vein essence milk to thank you." Lu Ping repeatedly said he did not dare. He saw the fishing float that had been thrown into the lake suddenly sink, but it quickly floated up again. Qing Li Laozu sat to the side as if he did not see it. Lu Ping thought for a moment and asked, "May I ask Senior, the last time I visited you, I mentioned the suggestion I made to Senior. I wonder if Senior has any advice for me?" Last time, after Lu Ping rescued Yunjin and brought him back to the Tianxian ancient city, Qing Li Laozu had summoned Lu Ping for a secret discussion. At that time, Lu Ping had proposed the alliance of the 2 sects on a whim. However, this was only his own idea. At that time, he had only proposed it to test the attitude of the Tianxian sect. This was a matter of life and death for the 2 sections. Of course, this was not something that Lu Ping, a minor repairs who had not even condensed his Dharma power, could touch. Qing Li Laozu looked at Lu Ping with a smile that was not a smile, as if he had already seen through Lu Ping's intentions. And Lu Ping's expression did not change. If what he said before was just a flash of inspiration, now he asked again because he had made up his mind to make this matter happen after he returned to Jinling. The current situation of the Tianxian sect was extremely delicate. The 5 holy lands had joined forces to suppress them, and some sects were willing to be the claws and teeth of the 5 holy lands. If they were not careful, they could completely decline. Even with the support of pure Yang Laozu and the unexpected help of the Crystal Palace, their situation had not changed much. In the eyes of outsiders, the Tianxian sect was still in a situation where they were treading on thin ice. As the saying goes, the icing on the cake is not as good as providing charcoal in the snow. At this time, the Tianxian sect might be extremely eager to support any sect, not to mention that Jinling's own strength was still very impressive. More importantly, from the news that the Tianxian sect had received from the North Sea these days, Jinling's rise was rapid, and it might be able to achieve the power of the failing sect in the North Sea in the future. If this was really the case, the Tianxian sect could be an ally of Jinling in the central region. They could open the ultra-long-distance transmission array from Jinling to the North Sea, re-establish the isolation between the North Sea and the central region, and help their identity as a large sect to be recognized by the entire cultivation world. With such a strong support, the Tianxian sect could also be used to relieve the aggressive pressure of the 5 holy lands, and it would be more conducive to the implementation of the strategy of abandoning the land and guarding the sea, keeping a low profile, and avoiding the sharp-edged planned by 7 Fan Laozu. At this moment, the fishing float that was floating on the surface of the water sank again. This time, the fishing float sank even more thoroughly, and it didn't seem to have any intention of floating up anymore. Lu Ping was surprised. If he had guessed correctly, when the fishing float sank just now, the bait on the hook should have been eaten by the fish. Now that the fishing float had sunk, could it be that there were still fish eating the hook? However, he heard Qing Li Laozu laugh and say, "Here it comes." After saying that, he reached out to grab the fishing rod and pulled it up. A palm-sized spirit nurturing box hung on the fishing hook, and Qing Li Laozu brought it out of the lake. Qing Li Laozu took the small spirit nurturing box off the fishing hook and said, The fish in this Tianxian mirror lake have all become spirits. If you want them to fish up one or two of the treasures that the senior cultivator put in the lake, you must first bribe them with bait. Otherwise, they won't give face even if it's for the sake of the old man, as he said that. Qing Li Laozu pointed at the 3 spirit-nurturing boxes of different sizes on the tea table, including the one that had just been fished up, and said, "It's these 3 boxes that caused the old man to use a whole morning to fish them up." However, Lu Ping's face revealed a look of surprise, and he said, "May I ask, Senior, are the fish in this mirror lake wooling fish?" Qing Li Laozu said with a smile, "What, even you've heard of them?" Lu Ping hurriedly said, "How many people in the cultivation world don't know the name of the wooling Taoist soldier formation? It is said that there was a wooling Laozu among the Laozu who founded your sect. With the 8,000 wooling fish Taoist soldier formation, he blocked the attack of the demon clan's 100,000 demon soldiers in the coastal sea at the foot of the Tianxian mountain, and forced the demon clan to retreat from the 3,000 miles of sea near the Tianxian sect. As the Tianxian sect's sphere of influence, the demon clan in the coastal sea did not dare to invade for tens of thousands of years. The wooling fish Taoist soldier formation can be said to be one of the most powerful Taoist soldiers in the cultivation world. I didn't expect to see it today." Qing Li Laozu nodded slightly, as if he was recalling the hardships and pioneering spirit of the predecessors following Lu Ping's words. He said, "The Tianxian sect has not experienced any war for thousands of years, and the wooling fish Taoist soldier formation has not appeared in the cultivation world for thousands of years. Now, it can only swim in this mirror lake and do the work of guarding the house. Although it still has its legend in the cultivation world, I'm afraid that some people have long forgotten its strength." Lu Ping was still mulling over the hidden meaning in Qing Li's words when he heard Qing Li continue, "Take these 3 boxes. I'll have to trouble you to give the smallest one to your sect's fellow Taoist Tianxiang. The larger one is a gift from our sect to your Tianling sect's sect master. As for the largest one, it's a thank you gift to our young friend." Chapter 850. Lu Ping knew very well why Qing Li Laozu had given gifts to Tianxiang, Laozu, and his teacher, Tianling, Laozu. However, this was also something that surprised him. In the past, no large sect would take the initiative to curry favor with a medium-sized sect. Moreover, Jinling was located in the North Sea. In the future, even if they wanted to send the teleportation formation to the Middle Earth and connect the North Sea and the Middle Earth's cultivation world, Jinling should be the one asking the Tianxian sect. However, Qing Li Laozu's actions made people feel like they were asking Jinling to speed up its rise and begging Jinling to build the teleportation formation that connected the 2 cultivation worlds in the Tianxian sect in the future. It seemed that although he saw the crisis of the Tianxian sect being suppressed by the 5 sacred grounds, the crisis seemed to be much more serious than Lu Ping had imagined. It even reached the point where the Tianxian sect had to put down its reputation as a large, established force. If that was the case, was the alliance between Jinling and the Tianxian sect right? According to Lu Ping's original plan, even if the Tianxian sect was suppressed by the 5 sacred grounds, the Tianxian sect was still a sect with nearly 20,000 years of history. It had been a large sect for more than 10,000 years. With such a heritage and the help of the Crystal Palace, which was also a sacred ground, even if the 5 sacred grounds wanted to suppress it, it would not be effective in a short period of time. Jinling wanted to use the Tianxian sect's remaining prestige to rise while it had not lost its status as a large sect. Even if the Tianxian sect declined in the future, Jinling would gradually grow stronger and leave the Middle Earth. Even if the Tianxian sect offended the 5 sacred grounds because of the Tianxian sect, it would not be worthwhile to go to the North Sea to deal with Jinling. Lu Ping left the pavilion in the middle of the lake. When he passed by the Tianxian Mirror Lake, he wanted to use his divine telekinesis to explore the lake to see if he could find a wooling fish. However, when his divine telekinesis entered the lake, he suddenly found a person who looked like him. Lu Ping was taken aback. This was obviously because his divine will was like a person looking into a mirror for the first time. He did not know that the light was reflected back, and he thought that there was another version of himself in the mirror. This mysterious heaven mirror lake was not a mirror lake, it was clearly a magic treasure, and an extremely tyrannical magic treasure. At the very least, when it reflected the spiritual sense of a cultivator, the cultivator would unknowingly fall for it, giving the feeling that there was a world inside the mirror lake that was the same as their surroundings. In the pavilion in the center of the lake, Qin Li Laozu watched Lu Ping's figure disappear into the distance. He silently sipped his tea, but at some point, a farmer-like old man had appeared in the pavilion. "Senior brother, can this Zhenling really grow up?" Qin Li Laozu put down the teacup and asked softly without turning his head. The farmer-like old man behind him was the current leader of the Heavenly Mystery sect, the Pure Yang Grand Cultivator Qi Fan Laozu. Who can say for sure? Old ancestor Seven Fans squatted down and washed his muddy hands in the lake water. Then, while shaking his hands, he stood up and said, "Draw a line from the Heavenly Mystery sect to the east. After passing through the storm ocean, it will be the dividing line between the cultivation world of the North Sea and the East Sea. However, the possibility of the structure of the East Sea changing is not high. Although the free and unfettered sect has risen, its predecessor's boudoir is inextricably linked to the Heavenly Moon sect. Not to mention that we are now at least nominally leaning towards the Crystal Palace. With the way the Crystal Palace does things, I'm afraid it will be difficult for a large sect to rise in the East Sea." Qi Fan Laozu looked at the lake water under his feet that had become muddy when he washed his hands. Streaks of white lightning-like figures passed through the muddy water and then disappeared into the lake. Instead, the muddy lake water strangely became clear again with a flash of white light. These white lights seemed to be devouring the mud that fell from Qi Fan Laozu's hands. Seeing this, Qin Li Laozu, who was sitting next to him, smiled bitterly and said, "Senior brother, the soil in your garden is filled with living soil, rolling spirit soil, 100 spirit dew, 1,000 wonder dew, and other precious things that can promote the growth of the spirit treasures in the garden. It can be said that every piece of soil is no less valuable than a blood condensation realm medicinal pill. Are you going to feed them to the fishes just like that?" Qi Fan Laozu ignored Qin Li Laozu's complaints and continued, "Although the situation of the North Sea's cultivation world seems to be in a state of disunity, the development of the North Sea's cultivation world has improved a lot in the past decade. It is said that a high-quality large spirit stone mine was discovered in the North Sea. The sects in the North Sea kept it a secret and then joined forces to sneak into the Middle Earth to steal the treasures left behind in the Ingtian Dojo, allowing the North Sea's cultivation world to make a huge leap in a short period of time. Among them, the most obvious increase in strength is this Zhenling. If there is anyone in the North Sea who is most likely to rise to become a large sect, then this Zhenling is without a doubt. But this is where the problem lies. The North Sea has been isolated from the Middle Earth for thousands of years. Which sect would easily accept a request from an unknown overseas sect to build a super long-distance teleportation formation in their territory? At this point, Qin Li Laozu also began to understand a little. He continued Qin Li Laozu's words and said, "That's right. This Zhenling sent his most outstanding disciple to travel the Middle Earth. He was sure that this Lu Xianping was not an ordinary person. As expected, he became famous in the Middle Earth after the battle in the Western Wilderness, and then he killed Fan Yuqing. This Zhenling has some plans. If he makes trouble in the cultivation world as a junior disciple, the fight between the juniors will naturally not involve the sect. At worst, he will just sacrifice a potential cultivator who has not yet grown up. If he becomes famous, not only will he spread the name of Zhenling, but he will also show the potential of Zhenling's rise through Lu Xianping. This is a good way to ensure a good harvest." Qi Fan Laozu nodded and said, "Perhaps this is part of the reason. It's just that this Zhenling seems to be under attack at the moment. Not only do the sects in the North Sea cultivation world not want to see an absolutely powerful sect dominate the North Sea, the North Sea demon race also seems to want to regroup under the guidance of the primordial crocodile. Moreover, the Crystal Palace also wants to intervene in the North Sea. If Zhenling wants to break out of this situation, he will have to face the simultaneous suppression of these forces. It is also a heavy burden and a long way to go." Lu Ping hid his tracks after coming down from the Tianxian Mountains. He sent a message talisman to perfected Qi Xiankai and perfected Xian Tian, who were waiting to participate in the Pure Yang Dharma assembly in the Tianxian ancient city. Then he returned to the Yingshan Immortal Academy. Guotianshan Laozu had already announced to the public that he was going into closed-door cultivation a year ago. In reality, he had returned to the North Sea. Other than handing over all the matters in the Immortal Academy to perfected Qi Xiankai, Liang Tianfeng Laozu was helping to oversee the Immortal Academy. In addition, there was also Chu Tiancheng Laozu's secret help. When Lu Ping returned to the Immortal Academy, it just so happened that Tiancheng Laozu was bringing a few disciples who had advanced to the blood condensation realm back to the North Sea. So, he delayed his return by a day and returned with Tiancheng Laozu. More importantly, he could save a top-grade spirit stone. The Immortal Academy had already doubled in size compared to before Lu Ping traveled to the Central Plains. Because of the secret cooperation between Tianfeng Laozu and Tiancheng Laozu, as well as the support of the North Sea True Spirit sect, and Jinling's intention to use the Immortal Academy to train the disciples' combat experience, the Immortal Academy's influence in the Yingshan mountain range was growing rapidly. Many rogue cultivator forces were chased out of the Yingshan Immortal Academy's sphere of influence, and the Mountain Universe sect was completely suppressed. As for Long River Laozu and the others who had the support of the Gu clan, they were starting to show signs of resistance. Lu Ping returned to the cliff at the back of the Immortal Academy. In his cave abode above the Ying River, he took out the 3 spirit nurturing boxes. The 2 smallest ones were given to Tian Xiang Laozu and Tian Ling Laozu by Qing Li Laozu on behalf of the Heavenly Profound sect. Lu Ping naturally wouldn't open them. However, the largest spirit nurturing box was Lu Ping's own, so Lu Ping couldn't wait to open it. He placed his palm on the spirit nurturing box. The bluish-purple light flickered, and the surface of the spirit nurturing box seemed to have changed slightly. He couldn't see it clearly when he wanted to take a closer look. Lu Ping carefully opened the box. It was filled to the brim with water. Lu Ping dipped his hand into the water in the box suspiciously. He discovered that it was just ordinary water that had been contaminated with spiritual energy. If he had to point out something special, it would be that the spiritual energy in the water was abnormally abundant. Perhaps it was because the water had once flowed through a spirit vein, and from the looks of it, this spirit vein was of an extremely high grade. But what was this? Lu Ping couldn't figure it out. He could only look at the spirit nurturing box again. Only then did he discover that on the inner wall of the spirit nurturing box, there were 18 white egg-shaped objects the size of rice grains. Could these be fish eggs? Could they be Wuling fish eggs? Lu Ping's previous doubts and disappointment were immediately swept away. He carefully recalled the records he had read about Wuling fish, especially the memory of the pure yang soul of Ying Tian Sect's Fei Tian Laozu. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. It was exactly the same as the records and inherited memories. These must be Wuling fish eggs. A Dao soldier cultivated by Wuling fish, together with a Dao soldier formation, could form one of the best Dao soldier formations in the cultivation world. Back then, Wuling Laozu was so famous, mostly because of the Dao soldier formation that he cultivated. He didn't expect that the Heavenly Profound sect would give him the Wuling fish eggs as a gift. In his excitement, Lu Ping suddenly remembered that although the Wuling fish was famous in the cultivation world, it was extremely difficult to cultivate them into Dao soldiers. Back then, Wuling Laozu spent more than 600 years to cultivate 18 Wuling fish into 8,000 Wuling fish Dao soldiers from the blood condensation realm to the transcendence realm. Before that, Wuling Laozu had been unknown in the cultivation world. Wuling fish was originally called sharp ridge fish. It was originally a rather brave fish demon race in the coastal waters. However, this fish demon was born with low intelligence and had little room for improvement in cultivation. Therefore, humans and demons didn't pay much attention to them. However, Wuling Laozu could see that this fish demon was extraordinary. He spent more than 600 years cultivating this fish demon and trained them into Dao soldiers. In order to unleash the power of the sharp ridge fish Dao soldiers, Wuling Laozu even refined an entire river called Wuling into the formation. His Dao name, Wuling Laozu, was also named because of this formation. Wuling Laozu was unknown in the Heavenly Profound sect. His cultivation was also focused on the sharp ridge fish. Although his cultivation was improving, his ability was extremely weak. However, this situation changed when the Heavenly Profound sect faced a crisis of annihilation. With the 8,000 sharp ridge fish Dao soldiers, Wuling Laozu single-handedly stopped the attack of 100,000 demon soldiers in the coastal waters under the Heavenly Profound mountain. The battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, 20,000 of the 100,000 demon soldiers retreated in defeat with casualties. The Heavenly Profound sect was saved. From then on, the Heavenly Profound sect was established as a large sect that lasted for more than 10,000 years. Wuling Laozu's prowess shocked the world. The sharp ridge fish Dao soldiers were also called Wuling fish because of the Wuling River formation that Wuling Laozu refined. Chapter 851. Dozens of miles away from the North Sea's Huanyu Island, in the depths of the sea, the North Sea demons had naturally attracted the attention of the North Sea practitioners ever since they had occupied this place at all costs. What exactly was there that the primordial crocodile clan had convinced the other clans to join forces to stabilize the front line between the humans and demons here? For more than 20 years, they had not hesitated to pay the price of dozens of core forging adepts and several Dharma adepts. However, in the cultivation world of the North Sea, be it the cultivators of the human clan or the demon clan, none of them knew that in the hollow belly of an underwater mountain range not far from the territory occupied by the demon clan, there was a small teleportation array that could directly connect to the Middle Earth. The teleporter flashed. After a decade or two, Lu Ping had once again returned to the North Sea. Along with him were Tiancheng Laozu and a few disciples who had just advanced to the blood condensation stage. They were to be brought to Zhenling to receive the inheritance of their techniques. After that, they would stay on Tianling Mountain to train and be completely integrated into Zhenling. Lu Ping looked at the formation that had been set up around the teleporter. In the middle of the mountain that had been submerged by the seawater, a space with a circumference of 20 feet had been created to keep the seawater out. And near this small teleporter that connected to the central plains, there was another teleporter. Lu Ping could see that this teleporter had not been built for a long time. Beside him, Tiancheng Laozu smiled and explained, "In recent years, the North Sea demons have been patrolling the waters outside the mountain range more and more closely. It is possible for us Dharma adepts to avoid them and sneak in here, but it is extremely difficult for core forging adepts. If we bring along these burdens like we do now and still don't get discovered, the old man would rather challenge Dao Sheng. Later on, your martial uncle Xianchen simply built a teleportation formation in the belly of the mountain, directly connecting it to the rear hall of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. This way, there was no need to worry about being discovered by the demon cultivators outside the mountain. Several of the fourth-generation disciples, who were directly called a burden by Tiancheng Laozu, could not help but show a trace of shame on their faces. But what surprised them was that Tiancheng Grandmaster, the second generation of Laozu, actually took the initiative to explain the changes in the cave residence to the third-generation Uncle Master, Immortal Lu Xianping, the elder of the Academy of Immortal. His tone was completely like a peer talking to someone of the same generation, but Lu Xianping was able to accept it calmly, without the slightest respect and fear that a junior in the core forging realm would have when he met Dharma idol Laozu. They had already entered the blood condensation realm and were chosen from the Academy of Immortal to return to the North Sea to inherit the legacy. They were extremely intelligent people and knew that this Uncle Master Lu Xianping before them seemed to be extremely famous in the Central Plains. Even Uncle Master Qi Xiankai, who was a deacon and had a high status in the Academy of Immortal, and Uncle Master Xianfang, who was a master of alchemy, seemed to have great respect for him. Thinking of this, these disciples looked at Lu Ping with even more fervor. At the same time, they could not help but plant a few seeds in their hearts. In the future, if they could also be like this elder in front of them and gain the recognition and respect of the second and third generation disciples as a fourth generation disciple, how proud would that be? As he emerged from the back hall of the Heaven Spirit Hall, Lu Ping could not help but feel a different kind of emotion when he saw the familiar scene before him. Zhenling was still his hometown in the end. The cultivator on duty in the Heaven Spirit Hall was no longer the profound sage that Lu Ping was familiar with. Instead, it was a second-generation cultivator called Profound Firmament. Although Lu Ping did not recognize him, he clearly knew Lu Ping. As soon as he saw Lu Ping, he cried out in joy, "You've returned, junior nephew Lu?" Although Lu Ping was puzzled, he still bowed and said, "I greet Uncle Master." Profound Firmament still wanted to say something, but he heard Laozu Tiancheng say impatiently, "Enough, junior Profound Firmament. These are a few good seedlings that we brought back from the North Sea this time. Take them to find a suitable legacy cultivation method." After sending off the enthusiastic Profound Firmament sage, Lu Ping turned to Tiancheng Laozu and said with a smile, "Uncle Master, this disciple will first make a trip to Chonghua Manor." Tiancheng Laozu casually waved his hand and said, "Hurry up and scram. However, don't forget that you promised to fight with the old man, otherwise, be careful that the old man doesn't tear down your Huangli Island." Lu Ping laughed. "Uncle Master must be joking. Huangli Island doesn't belong to a disciple, it belongs to the sect." Tiancheng Laozu could not be bothered to pay attention to him. With a fireball, his entire body disappeared into the scattering sparks. It seemed that he had returned to his dwelling. In Chonghua Manor, Tianling Laozu, who had been in charge of Jinling for many years, was becoming more and more dignified. She looked even more graceful and elegant, but her gaze was as sharp as a knife and as sharp as a knife that could see through people's hearts. However, when she saw that Lu Ping had returned, a look of joy appeared on her face. She smiled and said, "After not seeing you for so many years, your cultivation has become even more profound. Even I can't see through you. I'm afraid that it won't be long before even I have the ability to guide you." In the past few years, Tianling Laozu's cultivation had not increased much. Many practitioners in the sect thought that it was because Tianling Laozu was too busy with the affairs of the sect that his cultivation had been delayed. Only a few Dharma adepts in the sect knew that if one were to talk about the growth of strength, among the second generation of Dharma adepts in Jinling, Tianling Laozu was ranked second only to Jiang Tianlin Laozu, who was about to face his first lightning trial. The one who felt this the most was Tianqin Laozu. Originally, the two of them were equal in strength. However, now that Tianqin Laozu and Tianling Laozu met, Tianling Laozu could clearly feel the pressure from Tianling Laozu. Tianqin Laozu and Tianling Laozu had been fighting each other for hundreds of years. Tianqin had been in charge of Huangli Island for more than 10 years, but his cultivation and strength were gradually being surpassed by Tianling Laozu, who had to deal with thousands of affairs every day. How could the proud Tianqin Laozu take this lying down? Therefore, Tianqin Laozu simply gave up his duty of being in charge of Huangli Island. When he returned to Zhenling, he announced that he would go into closed-door training. He was prepared to increase his level of cultivation and then compete with Tianling Laozu. Only Lu Ping knew that the main reason for Tianling Laozu's improvement in strength was because Lu Ping had passed on the Linhai wave listening technique to his teacher, which was related to the mid and late Dharma stage. This allowed his teacher's Linhai wave listening technique to be completely perfected. His teacher's practice of the Linhai wave listening technique became more and more proficient in the practice of the Dharma stage. Many of the previously obscure and different parts of the practice were easily solved, and some of the subsequent understanding of the remarkable techniques were also mastered. The Linhai wave listening scripture was a complete inherited cultivation technique left behind by the Fei Ling sect. It was a cultivation technique that Lu Ping couldn't even explain to this day. The Linhai wave listening scripture was a cultivation technique that was derived from the Linhai wave listening scripture. The Linhai wave listening scripture had been refined by the Dharma cultivators of the Fei Ling sect for generations. It had long become an extremely mature and outstanding cultivation technique. Tianqin and Tianling, the two Laozu's talents and temperaments were about the same. However, the quality of the technique that Tianling Laozu practiced was obviously higher than Tianqin Laozu's. This was why, although Tianling Laozu's level of cultivation was not much faster than Tianqin Laozu's, the growth in strength was second only to Tianling Laozu's. Lu Ping told his teacher about the general situation of his travels in Central Plains over the years. He also emphasized his experience in Tianxian ancient city and took out the gift that Qingli Laozu had given to his teacher. Tianling Laozu did not open the spirit nurturing box. Instead, he pondered for a moment before asking Lu Ping, "What do you think of the current situation in Tianxian city?" Lu Ping had already considered these matters. When he heard the question, he said, "The Tianxian sect's situation seems to be much worse than I had imagined. Originally, I thought that the Tianxian sect had a history of nearly 20,000 years and was the strongest among all the large sections. Even if they were suppressed by the 5 Holy Lands, they would not decline in less than a few hundred years. These few hundred years would be enough for our sect to rise again and gain the recognition of our position in the Central Plains training world with the help of the Tianxian sect. We would then be able to re-establish the long-distance teleporter between the two worlds and bring the North Sea back into the training world. However, from the looks of it now, I'm afraid that the Tianxian sect will not be able to hold on until then." However, Tianling Laozu smiled and said, "Not necessarily. I think the Tianxian sect seems to have a lot of follow-up measures. They may be able to hold on, not to mention that they have the support of the Crystal Palace." Lu Ping was puzzled. Then why would the Tianxian sect take the initiative to make friends with us? In Central Plains, the East Sea, and even the South Sea, there are many forces whose strength is similar to our sect. There are even some who are stronger than us. Moreover, in the game between these giant sects, we, the Zhenling sect, are not enough. Tianling Laozu smiled and said, "The Tianxian sect endured the humiliation and gave up thousands of miles of territory. It seems that they are showing weakness to the 5 Holy Lands, but in fact, they want to concentrate their strength. Like a clenched fist, it is possible to throw this fist out quickly and powerfully. To where? It can't be to the 5 Holy Lands, can it? Is it to the Tianxian sect?" Tianling Laozu shook his head and said, "The Tianxian sect is a pawn of the 5 Holy Lands, and the Tianxian sect is now a pawn of the Crystal Palace in name. The Tianxian sect jumped into the game between the Crystal Palace and the 5 Holy Lands, but it is to be able to completely jump out of the chessboard so that they can play the game themselves." Lu Ping was not surprised. Instead, he seemed to think it was natural. He said, "It seems that the Tianxian sect has not given up the temptation of becoming the 7th Holy Land in the cultivation world. However, where do they want to hit with their clenched fist? Does Qi Fan Laozu have the confidence to become a real spirit? If he fails, I am afraid that the fate of the Ying Tian sect will soon fall on the Tianxian sect. Tens of thousands of years of pioneering and forging ahead, the persistent dream of several generations, how can it be so easy to give up? Standing at the height of Qi Fan Laozu, I am afraid there are many things that are beyond their control. As for the place where the Tianxian sect will break out of the game, if I'm not wrong, it should be near the sea." "Near the sea?" Lu Ping suddenly understood and said, "The demon tribes near the sea of storms, and a pincer attack. This is a good plan for the Tianxian sect. I am afraid this is the price for our sect to become a large sect in the future and to be recognized by the Tianxian sect. To cross the Sea of Storms, appear behind the demon tribes near the sea, and attack the Tianxian sect from the front and back, helping the Tianxian sect to expand their sphere of influence to the sea. In this way, we can avoid the conflict between the 5 Holy Lands and the Crystal Palace." "I think so. The Tianxian sect must have made arrangements in the sea, and that Wuling Yu Taoist soldier must be one of them. Also, they are sure that the resources in the sea are enough for the development of the Tianxian sect." Tianling Laozu nodded and agreed with Lu Ping's speculation. "However, to cross the stormy ocean, we'll need a treasured ship. It's not easy for our sect to have a second great cultivator, but it's not impossible. It's just that where are we going to find a treasured ship? Although our sect isn't as tight on funds as before, the cultivation base of many cultivators in our sect has also increased greatly. It's really difficult for us to find the time to build a treasured ship." "Yes, a treasure ship," Tianling Laozu murmured to himself. Chapter 852. Lu Ping went to visit Celestial Phenomenon Laozu and told him about what he had seen and heard in Central Plains to Celestial Phenomenon Laozu. Then he left behind a gift from Tianxian sect's Qingli Laozu and left. It had only been a few hours since Lu Ping returned to Tianling Mountain, but the news had already spread throughout Tianling Mountain. Since Zhenling had the secret teleportation formation that allowed them to travel to Central Plains and had also built a celestial academy in the Yingshan mountain range, news about Central Plains was naturally much smoother. Yingshan Immortal Academy was still a secret to most of the cultivators in Zhenling, and the super long-distance teleportation formation in the underwater mountain range was even more of a secret. Even if perfected Xian Fang, perfected Qi Xiankai, perfected Xian Tian, and the others could only use the super long-distance teleportation formation in the middle of the mountain range to reach Central Plains, they had no idea where exactly the mountain range was. Even so, Lu Ping had made a name for himself in Central Plains, and Zhenling still spread the news rather quickly within the sect. Lu Ping did not care about this, because Jiang Tianlin Laozu was now at the most crucial stage of advancing to the mid-Dharma stage. He was currently preparing for his closed-door training at the top of Tianling Mountain, so Lu Ping did not visit him again. Instead, he greeted a few of his senior sisters and returned to Huangli Island through the teleportation formation. It had been 20 years since Lu Ping left Huangli Island. Walking on the crisscross streets of Huangli Island and looking at the cultivators coming and going, Lu Ping felt that things had remained the same, but people had changed. The development of Huangli Island had reached a bottleneck. Because Huangli Island's area was limited and the resources in the outer seas were also limited, in order to attract more cultivators to Huangli Island, Zhenling had to expand its sphere of influence in the outer seas. In this way, it was inevitable that they would have to fight with the North Sea Demon clan of the Deep Sea Demon region. Lu Ping walked straight to his cave mansion on the island, but he gradually found that there was something wrong with his surroundings. After thinking about it for a moment, he remembered that he had encountered several patrol teams of Zhenling cultivators, but none of these cultivators recognized Lu Ping. Along the way, they passed by many shops. Even though the number of shops here had increased by a lot, it was impossible not to have a shopkeeper who knew Lu Ping. It seemed that something had happened on the island. As he thought of that, Lu Ping's expression remained unchanged. However, his divine sense was like a gathering thundercloud in the sky above him, growing thicker and thicker. Strange cries rang out from the thundercloud, echoing in the ears of all the cultivators on Huangli Island. The sound was somewhat deep, yet it was unusually distant. It was as though it was a horn that pierced through the ancient times. It also seemed as though it carried an incomparable arrogance as it announced its return. All the cultivators on Huangli Island were alarmed. When they raised their heads and looked in the direction of the sound, they saw a seemingly invisible but distinct existence condensing in the sky, forming a strange cloud that had condensed together. In the middle of the cloud, there were many existences that only revealed their scales and claws. However, they gave off a feeling of mystery and majesty to those who saw them. Was this divine sense materialization? A knowledgeable cultivator exclaimed, "When did another Dharma manifestation Laozu come to Huangli Island? Who provoked this person?" Lu Ping formed a hand seal and released it. The divine sense that had condensed above his head was like a dam that had accumulated enough water and suddenly collapsed. The divine sense poured out in all directions, instantly engulfing the entire Huangli Island. The situation on the island was instantly presented in Lu Ping's divine sense. A cold snort came from the east side of Huangli Island, facing the sea. An illusory giant ape rose from the east coast and pounced in the direction of Lu Ping. Unexpectedly, it was also a divine sense materialization. This was Tianshu Laozu's attack. A cultivator on Huangli Island shouted out loudly. A portion of the divine sense that had spread throughout the entire island suddenly condensed into a strange flood dragon in the sky. With a flick of its tail, the flood dragon split the giant ape into two. When the cultivators on Huangli Island saw that the divine sense materialization of Tianshu Laozu had its lower body destroyed by an unknown cultivator, they all cried out in alarm. Although the giant ape did not expect the opponent to have the strength to make the first move, its divine sense was different. Even though its lower body was destroyed, it did not hinder the giant ape from rushing forward. Its pair of ape palms tore the strange flood dragon in front of it into pieces. It turned out to be a situation where both sides suffered. However, Those who were observant could clearly see that the giant ape had launched a sneak attack while the strange flood dragon was formed in a hurry. If that was the case, Tianshu Laozu might not be as good as this mysterious cultivator who came to Huangli Island. At this time, Lu Ping had already used his divine sense to investigate the entire situation on Huangli Island. The divine sense that had spread throughout the island had all returned to his body. He turned his head to look in the direction of Tianshu Laozu, then turned around and headed back to his cave residence. Lu Ping finally understood the biggest difference in the current Huangli Island. The density of the spiritual energy on the island had dropped too much. When Lu Ping left Huangli Island, he had already raised the quality of the spirit vein on Huangli Island to a medium-grade spirit vein. Furthermore, there were several scattered spirit veins on the island that were specially open to be used as cave residences for the cultivators on the island. Furthermore, through the island's protective array, the scattered spiritual energy from the spirit vein was dispersed to the entire Huangli Island. As a result, the density of the spiritual energy on Huangli Island was several times higher than other places. Although these measures did not have too obvious of a boost to the cultivators' cultivation, they still benefited all the cultivators on Huangli Island. They had greatly increased the cultivators' recognition of Zhenling and Huangli Island. Now, the density of the spiritual energy on the entire Huangli Island had dropped back to its original level. Furthermore, through his divine sense, Lu Ping could clearly see that the cave residences that were opened by the scattered spirit veins had long been abandoned. The density of the spiritual energy at the location of his cave residence had also dropped significantly. Most of the medium-grade main spirit vein that Lu Ping had painstakingly condensed had been changed. The continuous flow of spiritual energy had converged on the eastern coast, forming an area with extremely dense spiritual energy. That was the place where Tianshu Laozu's spiritual sense giant ape had appeared previously. Lu Ping's actions naturally made everyone understand that Huangli Island had an impressive cultivator. However, they were not sure who else in the North Sea would dare to so brazenly provoke Zhenling. Most of the cultivators were quietly waiting for the development of the situation. At this time, Lu Ping had already seen Hu Lili standing at the entrance of the cave residence. She seemed to have already guessed that he had returned. "You're back." It was still the same smile, and the greeting was as light as water. However, it caused Lu Ping's heart to surge with a sense of guilt. He could naturally see the trace of exhaustion hidden behind Hu Lili's beautiful smile. Lu Ping had established the foundation of Huangli Island, but this foundation had always been managed by Hu Lili alone. Most of the time, Lu Ping was not on Huangli Island. Even when he returned to the island, he would mostly be in secluded cultivation. Most of the time, Lu Ping did not care about the situation on the island. This was a kind of trust that ordinary people could not reach. However, behind this absolute trust, Hu Lili had racked her brains and worked day and night. She was able to become the actual controller of Huangli Island with a mid-core forging stage minor repairs. In addition to the identity and status that Lu Ping had brought her, she relied more on her own intelligence and methods. However, when she encountered an opponent who possessed absolute strength and did not abide by the rules, her control over Huangli Island inevitably collapsed. She could only try her best to protect the cave residence that Lu Ping had left on the island, as well as the core of the island's protective formation. Therefore, Hu Lili was also feeling guilty. She felt guilty for not being able to live up to Lu Ping's trust. She felt guilty for not being able to fight back in the face of the opponent's suppression. "You've returned. You've worked hard." Lu Ping touched Hu Lili's slightly pale face due to fatigue. He said, "Go and rest. Leave the rest to me. After 3 days, you will still need to continue to manage this island." The corners of Hu Lili's mouth finally raised into a slightly proud and happy smile. There was even a trace of mischievousness in it. She was like a child who had been wronged, but persisted in her stubbornness. This was because she knew that sooner or later, all these grievances would be returned to the other party because of the return of her guardian. Now, the person who had helped her vent her anger had finally returned. Moreover, it was not surprising that he was going to help her vent her anger. Hu Lili was relieved because of Lu Ping's comfort. She was happy because he did not hesitate to protect her. She was mischievous because her opponent was about to get his revenge. She was proud of her choice of guardian. Hu Lily gracefully returned to the cave residence and waited behind the formation plate of the island's protective formation. She knew that what was going to happen next was far from what she could participate in. Only by guarding the formation plate of the island's protective formation plate could she make Lu Ping feel completely at ease. Lu Ping smiled at Hu Lily. It seemed that he was also saying, "Prepare to watch a good show." Under Hu Lily's surprised gaze, a wine glass suddenly grew bigger and bigger in front of Lu Ping. Lu Ping knocked on the wine glass gently and the wine glass started to spin with a buzzing sound. Lu Ping said softly to the wine glass, "Let's begin." The wine glass suddenly shook while it was spinning. A little girl suddenly popped her head out of the wine glass and looked at Hu Lily curiously. Then, she floated above the wine glass and made a gesture of trying very hard with her hands. She shouted, "Come on, come on." The wine glass under the little girl's feet spun faster and faster. The woo-woo sound of the wind became more and more urgent. Hu Lily, who was at the side, suddenly had a change of expression. Then she became surprised. As the person who had set up the protective formation of Huangli Island, no one knew better than Hu Lily about the direction of Huangli Island's earth veins. At this moment, Hu Lily could clearly feel that every time the little girl shouted "Come on," the earth veins of Huangli Island were undergoing a huge change. It was the spirit vein. Hu Lily immediately realized what the little girl was doing. Following the change in the earth veins, the spiritual energy in the main vein that was guided by Tian Shu Laozu was rapidly flowing back to the cave residence where Lu Ping was. Who was this little girl? She actually dared to fight for the spirit vein under the nose of Fa Xiang Laozu. What was even more unbelievable was that she actually succeeded. How dare you? How dare you behave atrociously on Huangli Island? An angry roar almost shook the entire Huangli Island. Chapter 853. The barrenness of the North Sea made the sects more willing to gather the scarce resources. This way, the sects would be able to concentrate their advantages and increase their strength to the greatest extent possible. Zhenling had a legacy of 10,000 years, but this kind of legacy could not be compared to the likes of the Profound Sky sect. The Profound Sky sect had a legacy of nearly 20,000 years, but it had at least 13 to 14,000 years of history to become a large-scale sect. Zhenling's so-called legacy of 10,000 years was only able to become a large-scale sect 6,000 years ago, when Taishan Laozu became a true spirit. Before that, it had been lingering between the small and medium-sized sections. In the end, because of the lack of a strong foundation, although Taishan Laozu became a true spirit with his own talent, it had only been 1,000 years since he left, and Zhenling had returned to the ranks of the middle-sized sections. However, with Taishan Laozu's influence, Zhenling was able to maintain its status as a middle-sized sect in the 5,000 years after Zhenling left, and did not fall back to the ranks of the small sections. Therefore, even though Zhenling had a long history of inheritance, after 10,000 years, the number of large-scale spirit veins that formed in the entire Tianling Mountain did not exceed 3 or 4. If the Foundation Island was like this, the situation of the other islands could be imagined. Zhenling had 36 middle-sized islands. Other than a few islands that were located in strategic locations that maintained the scale of a middle-sized spirit vein, the other islands were only at the level of a few small spirit veins. For the other small islands, being able to use small spirit veins to maintain the island's protective formation was already considered rich. As for the other small islands, there was no need to mention them. Among all of Zhenling's subsidiary islands, only Huangli Island, which was managed by Lu Ping, could be considered a special case. Zhenling had always had a tradition of using the spirit veins of the subsidiary islands to supplement the main vein of Tianling Mountain. Usually, when the spirit vein on an island had accumulated to a middle-sized spirit vein, Zhenling would use a formation to draw it to the main peak of Tianling Mountain and fuse it with the main vein, raising the quality of the main vein. The quality of Tianling Mountain's main vein was also formed through this method after several generations of Tianling Mountain's cultivators over tens of thousands of years of accumulation. On other islands, the formation of a medium-sized spirit vein was often the result of several cultivators guarding the Junling's spirit vein. It took hundreds or thousands of years and generations of effort to gradually take shape. This was not something that could be accomplished overnight. Because of this, when Junling wanted to reclaim the spirit vein, no matter how unwilling the cultivators guarding the island were, they couldn't stop him. This was because the spirit vein was the result of several generations of hard work and not the work of a single person. The true ownership of the spirit vein belonged to Junling. There was no doubt about this. Huangli Island was a special case. From the establishment and management of Huangli Island to the current Huangli Island, which was not even the size of a small island, the time taken to condense a mouth-watering medium-sized spirit vein was too short. Moreover, there was only one person who managed to do all of this, and that person was Lu Ping. Therefore, even though Huangli Island was prosperous and was almost like a monster that swallowed and spat out spirit stones and cultivation resources, none of the Laozu of Junling had the idea of taking everything from Huangli Island to Junling. Even though there were a few core forging cultivators who coveted Huangli Island, in the end, they couldn't make any waves. It wasn't that the Laozu of Junling looked down on it. On the contrary, the prosperity of Huangli Island was something that even the Laozu of Junling were envious of. It was because none of them could ask for it. Everyone in Junling knew that Huangli Island was the result of Lu Ping's independent development. Lu Ping had spent a lot of energy to develop Huangli Island, so they couldn't help but respect Lu Ping's achievements. Therefore, Huangli Island, which was like an exotic miniature island, stood as the most important stronghold of Junling in the open sea with a medium-sized spirit vein. To be honest, it wasn't easy for Lu Ping to accumulate this fortune. Most of it was obtained through battles of life and death. Therefore, in order to guard against the Demon Clan's surprise attack, Junling sent Tian Lin Laozu and Tian Qin Laozu to Huangli Island. These two Laozu did not use the spirit vein on Huangli Island to cultivate. This situation lasted until Tian Shu Laozu returned to the top of Tian Ling Mountain to cultivate in seclusion because of Tian Qin Laozu. Tian Shu Laozu, who had just entered the transcendent stage, naturally took over Tian Qin Laozu's position. When Tian Shu Laozu arrived at Huangli Island, the first thing he did was to announce that he was going to take over the medium-sized spirit vein on Huangli Island. Although Hu Lili, Chen Lian and the others tried their best to resist, they were no match for Tian Shu Laozu's strength. Most of the main spirit vein under Lu Ping's cave abode was drawn to his cave abode by Tian Shu Laozu. Only one branch of the spirit vein was left in Lu Ping's cave abode, which was barely enough to maintain the island's protective formation. After that, the island's patrol team that Lu Ping had promoted were all dismissed or transferred away by Tian Shu Laozu. The patrol team that was re-established were made up of Tian Shu Laozu's disciples, perfected Xuanzu, perfected Xuanzhan and the others' fourth-generation disciples, as well as second- and third-generation cultivators. That was not all. Many of the shops on Huangli Island were opened by Lu Ping and many of his friends. After Tian Shu Laozu took control of Huangli Island, his disciples naturally had to set up shops on Huangli Island. However, the area of Huangli Island was limited after all. If one wanted to get a piece of the pie from the saturated Huangli Island, then they would have to drive away the original merchants and squeeze out a group of them. Huangli Island was like a hen that laid golden eggs. Otherwise, it would not have been coveted so much. With Tian Shu Laozu's actions, there was naturally a debate within Junling. There were many who supported Lu Ping but not many who opposed Tian Shu Laozu. No matter what, the matter of Huangli Island involved Laozu, the disciples in the sect would have to listen to the opinions of the few Dharma phase Laozu. However, at this time, the movement of the upper echelons of Junling was strange. Currently, the first generation of cultivators of Junling did not participate in the specific affairs of the sect. Tian Xiang Laozu naturally would not worry about such a small matter. Tian Shui Laozu was in charge of the spirit stone mine on Frost Island. Tian Fan Laozu did not show up. Tian Kong Laozu went to Huanyu Island. Tian Lu Laozu had nothing to do with the world. Ever since Tian Lin Laozu brought back a damaged treasure from Ying Tian Dojo, Tian Jiang Laozu had been thinking about how to repair this damaged treasure. No one dared to disturb him at this time. The second generation of disciples of Jinling had settled down, but Tian Lin and Tian Qin Laozu were in secluded cultivation. Tian Feng Laozu and Tian Cheng Laozu were nowhere to be found. Tian Shan Laozu had been away for more than 10 years. After returning to Tianling Mountain, he lived in seclusion and became very mysterious. This huge Jinling was now supported by Lu Tianling Laozu, who was the sect master. At this time, many people finally understood that Tian Shu Laozu had chosen a good time. There were only 2 Laozu left in Jinling, and these 2 Laozu had never been on good terms. Some well-informed cultivators used the information they had heard from the old cultivator of Jinling about the grudges between the two. In a short period of time, the news of the internal instability of Jinling had spread all over the place. However, Lu Tianling Laozu was the sect master of Jinling. He had been impartial all these years and had managed to make Jinling prosper. The prestige of the sect master had allowed Lu Tianling Laozu to gain the upper hand. Originally, Tian Shu Laozu was no match for the current Lu Tianling Laozu, be it in terms of strength or influence. However, Tian Shu Laozu had chosen Huangli Island, which was a controversial topic within Jinling. Moreover, he had grasped the crux of the problem. Whether or not Huangli Island still needed to be in Lu Ping's hands was the problem. Everyone knew that Lu Ping was the last disciple of the sect master of Jinling, and he was also the disciple she was most proud of. From this point of view, it didn't matter if Lu Tianling Laozu was doing it for the sake of justice or not. If she made a decision in favor of Lu Ping on the issue of Huangli Island, the other Laozu in the sect wouldn't be able to do anything. Then, Lu Tianling Laozu would have to bear the reputation of shielding her own disciple and stealing the sect's property. This was what Tian Shu Laozu had planned a long time ago. It was a method to fight against Lu Tianling Laozu's prestige as the sect master. As long as he could restrain Lu Tianling Laozu, then why would Tian Shu Laozu care about the remaining voices of opposition? Who would be able to stop him? There wasn't a single Jinling cultivator who would deny that Huangli Island was the result of Lu Ping's advocacy. There wasn't a single Jinling cultivator who would deny that the prosperity of Huangli Island was the result of Lu Ping's painstaking efforts. However, all of these were inseparable from the rules, the traditions and rules of Jinling for thousands of years. It was true that Huangli Island was developed by Lu Ping alone, but this couldn't be a reason for Lu Ping to occupy Huangli Island, let alone become his private property. Not to mention, without Jinling's support, without the sect's strong support when the demon beasts besieged Huangli Island, and without the 3 Laozus coming to Huangli Island to hold the fort and deter the demon beasts in the North Sea, how could Huangli Island still be as stable as a mountain when it was isolated in the sea? Of course, the sect naturally had to compensate Lu Ping in other aspects when they took over Huangli Island. This was the right thing to do, and Jinling would naturally not treat those who contributed to the sect unfairly. In fact, Tian Shu Laozu's plan was carried out very smoothly. On Huangli Island, Tian Shu Laozu easily took complete control of Huangli Island. Other than Lu Ping's lover, Xian Chen's disciple, Xian Hu, who fought to the death, none of Lu Ping's scoundrels who opposed the change of Huangli Island's guardian jumped out to make things difficult for him. This made Tian Shu Laozu secretly proud of the success of his plan, but at the same time, he also felt slightly uneasy in his heart. From the beginning to the end, Lu Tianling Laozu didn't say a single word about Huangli Island. It was as if he had been watching coldly as the foundation his disciple built was easily taken over by Tian Shu Laozu. This also made it so that Tian Shu Laozu didn't fall into the trap of protecting his own disciple and dividing the sect's public property. As for the third-generation disciples who supported Lu Ping, they didn't show up. This made Tian Shu Laozu feel that he seemed to have forgotten something. He didn't forget that when Jinling was still a core forging sage, Xian Shu Laozu, because of Yin Xuanchu's transvestite bloodline, he was ordered to capture him. It was under Lu Ping's leadership that a dozen or so third-generation disciples didn't hesitate to go against the sect's orders to stop him from capturing Yin Xuanchu. In the end, Lu Ping even fought with him to cover Yin Xuanchu's escape from the North Sea. It was that battle that allowed Lu Ping to step on Sage Xianshu's shoulders and build his reputation as the water sword deity. At this time, Tianshu Laozu was shocked. He finally knew where the uneasiness in his heart came from. It was from the dozen or so third-generation disciples who had stopped him from capturing Yin Xianchu. Now, among the third-generation disciples of Zhenling who had the potential to advance to the Dharma stage in the future, about half of them were gathered among the dozen or so disciples from back then. He had one now, but who among Zhenling's future disciples would be able to beat him? Chapter 854. Grand Elder Tianshu suddenly felt like he was riding a tiger, unable to back down. What was originally thought to be a heaven-sent opportunity now seemed to be a trap. However, it was also a trap. Lu Tianling Laozu could choose not to jump into it, but Tianshu Laozu had already fallen into it. This was because the trap he had set was to force Lu Ping to leave Huangli Island. Under the situation where Lu Tianling didn't take the bait, he didn't have the face to return the Huangli Island spirit vein that he had already occupied. He could only walk to the end. Ever since Tianshu Laozu forcefully took control of Huangli Island, Zhenling had a strange atmosphere. Tianshu Laozu had already guessed that the reason why Lu Tianling Laozu didn't make a move was not only because she saw through his plan, but also because she wanted to leave the cause and effect for her disciple to solve. As such, not only did Zhenling no longer have any objections to Lu Ping taking control of Huangli Island, but it also caused Tianshu Laozu to fall into a situation where he was bullying the weak. From then on, he no longer had the face to interfere with the matters of the sect. However, the problem was that even if Tianshu Laozu threw away his pride and decided to bully the weak, could it be that Lu Ping had the ability to take back Huangli Island from him? It was said that no matter how fast Lu Ping's strength grew, there was no reason for him to break through to the Dharma stage. As long as he didn't condense his Dharma, what could he use to fight against Tianshu Laozu? Tianshu Laozu, who was in a hurry, seemed to realize that he had unintentionally become a tool in the hands of others, or rather, a tool to test the waters. The few Laozu in the sect seemed to have their own duties, but in reality, they were all paying attention to Huangli Island all the time. For a moment, Tianshu Laozu actually began to look forward to Lu Ping's return. The feeling of being pushed out by the entire sect to be a benchmark for their own disciples was truly torturous. When Lu Ping emerged from the back of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, the communication sword from the Heaven's Spirit Mountain had already reached Tianshu Laozu's hands. The moment Lu Ping returned to Huangli Island, the powerful counterattack of his soul had indeed caused Tianshu Laozu, who wanted to take Lu Ping down a notch, to fail. Things continued to progress beyond Tianshu Laozu's expectations. From Tianshu Laozu's point of view, even if Lu Ping were to make a strong comeback, he would still need to ally with the other sects in order to seize control of Huangli Island from him. However, Tianshu Laozu was clearly wrong again. Lu Ping's counterattack came one after another, as if he did not even consider Tianshu Laozu's strength as a Dharma adept. What is he relying on to be so arrogant and ignorant? If he really becomes the Dharma adept Laozu in the future, who in the sect would still dare to deal with him? This person is even more arrogant than Jiang Xianlin, even more arrogant than Lu Xianling, and even more arrogant than Mei Xianqin. Tianshu Laozu did not seem to care about the greetings of the few disciples outside the cave. His face was so dark that it was scary. I have to suppress him, even if I have to bear the reputation of bullying the weak. Just as Tianshu Laozu made up his mind, the cave that he had opened up on the east coast of Huangli Island began to shake violently. This kind of violent shaking was something that even Tianshu Laozu could not suppress in a short period of time. However, Tianshu Laozu soon realized that the spiritual meridians that had formed under the cave were flowing back towards the center of Huangli Island, towards the cave that Lu Ping was in. To be able to change the spiritual meridians so easily, to be able to break the spiritual meridians so easily, could it be that Senior Guotianshan had already come to Huangli Island and was openly standing on the side that was against him? No, that's not right. Even Guotianshan was far from being able to change the spiritual meridians. That left only one person, Tiankong Laozu. Zhenling, only Tiankong Laozu had mastered the great power of moving the mountains and filling the seas to perfection, and its power could even be compared to that of an unparalleled power. Only an old man like him could change the spiritual meridians so easily. However, why would Tian Kong Laozu support Lu Ping over such a small matter? The formation, it had to be a formation. Tian Shu Laozu came to a sudden realization. After all, the Black Fox was junior sister Xuanqin's favorite disciple. Her cultivation in formations was already at the level of a master. It was not impossible for her to set up a hidden formation that could evade my detection. Now that the Black Fox saw that her lover had returned, she had the confidence to activate the formation and wanted to take back the spiritual meridians. How could it be so easy? Tian Shu Laozu roared, and his angry roar shook the entire True Spirit Island. The entire Huangli Island was not very big. In just a short while, Tian Shu Laozu had already arrived in front of him. Just as he was about to scold Lu Ping, he saw a ray of sword light piercing through the void in front of him, heading straight for Tian Shu Laozu's eye sockets. "Boy, how dare you make the first move? How dare you?" Tian Shu Laozu was enraged. Although he was scolding Lu Ping, his heart was calm. The forest wall of woods transformed into a giant tree in front of him. Countless leaves fell from the tree and formed a green net in midair. After advancing to the Dharma phase, Tian Shu Laozu's protective power was even more powerful. Seeing Lu Ping's sword piercing towards him, Tian Shu Laozu wanted to show his power. He did not dodge or evade. He wanted to use the forest wall of woods to block Lu Ping's sword light. Lu Ping laughed coldly in his heart. His hand gestures became more rapid and waves of vital energy were injected into the flying sword. The sword light pierced through half of the forest wall of woods. Even Tian Shu Laozu broke out in a cold sweat. However, his protective power was still able to block Lu Ping's sudden attack. He could not help but laugh and said, "So it is martial nephew Lu. How dare you attack the old man's senior sister? Lu has taught a good disciple, but this is how." Before he could finish his sentence, Tian Shu Grand Elder screamed in shock. He took a few steps back, but it was too late. The other flying sword that had been hiding behind the first beam of light had caught up with him. The forest of 10,000 woods wall was broken with a crisp cracking sound. The Yi-Ren sword followed like a shadow and pierced towards Tian Shu Laozu. Tian Shu Laozu was caught off guard and could only lower his head to avoid the attack. However, his hair was cut off by the flying sword. His hair was messy. The originally dignified Dharma phase Laozu lost his image in front of the shocked cultivators of Huangli Island. He looked so pathetic. "Son of a bitch, you, how dare you?" Tian Shu Laozu was like a furious beast. His finger trembled as he pointed at the direction where the flying sword light came from. He let out an earth-shattering roar, but his heart was in turmoil. There was only one thought in his mind: how could this be? How could this be? How could this be? A silhouette rose from Huangli Island. Finally, someone on Huangli Island exclaimed, "It is the water sword deity, Enlightened Master Lu Xianping. Enlightened Master Lu Xianping is back. This is going to be a good show. This Lu Xianping is too domineering. He even dared to attack our sect's Laozu. Is he not afraid of being punished by the sect?" Punishment? The great Dharma phase Laozu was beaten up so miserably. If I was Jinling's senior Laozu, I would not have the face to punish him. That's true. When did this water sword deity become so powerful? It looks like he is still at the core forging 9th stage. Even Dharma phase Laozu could not take advantage of him. What? Core forging 9th stage? Are you sure? 20 years ago, Enlightened Master Lu Xianping had just advanced to the core forging late stage. How could he be at the core forging 9th stage now? Tian Shu Laozu looked at Lu Ping with a complicated expression. After a long time, he said, "I didn't expect you to grow so fast. I'm afraid even the others in our sect did not expect this, right?" Lu Ping smiled. "It's not that I'm growing fast. It's just that Uncle Master has been cooped up in the North Sea for too long. Uncle Master hasn't even mastered one of his prime divine abilities. He thinks that he is one of the top cultivators in the North Sea just because he has reached the Dharma phase. He doesn't know that there are many cultivators like me who can fight against Dharma phase Laozu. Perhaps." Tian Shu Laozu held a slingshot in his hand. "But in today's battle, there must be a conclusion between us. Otherwise, we would be letting down those who set up this trap. Lu Ping sneered and said, "You're wrong again, junior martial uncle. From the beginning to the end, you were the one who took the initiative. Who was the one who secretly plotted for you or forced you to do something? A man will do what he did, and if he made a mistake, then he made a mistake. Why do you keep pushing all the blame to others? Or do you want to blame the person who took care of you for your death? This talk is useless. Let's talk after we fight." It was the same slingshot, and the same green ball of light formed on the leather cushion because of the beast tendon. Decades ago, in order to protect Yin Xianchu, Lu Ping had fought against enlightened Xianchu. Even though Lu Ping had forced enlightened Xianchu to use all his tricks, it was undeniable that Lu Ping had lost that battle. Moreover, he had lost without the slightest bit of unwillingness to accept defeat. It was only because enlightened Xianchu had realized the true intentions of the sect and purposely went easy on Lu Ping. Now that he was facing the slingshot and the green ball of light, Lu Ping could tell at a glance that the quality and power of these two weapons were no longer the same as they were decades ago. But now, as his opponent, Lu Ping's growth in power was not something Tian Shu Laozu could imagine. "Today, I will be so bold as to ask Uncle Master to leave Huangli Island. Today, Huangli Island no longer needs Uncle Master's protection." As soon as Lu Ping's voice fell, the green ball of light in the slingshot shot out. However, the ball of light disappeared in the air as soon as it shot out. When it suddenly appeared again, not only was it in front of Lu Ping, it was also smashing towards Lu Ping's head from the left. However, just as the ball of light appeared in front of Lu Ping, a golden light seemed to have calculated the position of the ball of light. The autumn water sword shattered the green ball of light, but the exploded ball of light suddenly turned into a sky full of green silk threads, entangling the autumn water sword layer by layer. A golden light spread from Lu Ping's hand to the autumn water sword's body. All the green silk threads entangling the sword began to wither, dry up, and turn into dust. Tian Shu Laozu's expression changed, and he cried out, "What kind of magic is this?" He waved both his hands at the same time, and countless dandelion-like silk threads appeared around Lu Ping, falling towards Lu Ping's body. It was this move again. Lu Ping sighed in his heart. Although Tian Shu Laozu's level of practice had advanced to the Dharma stage, other than the increase in power due to the increase in his level of practice, his other techniques had not improved much. Chapter 855. After all, Tian Shu Laozu was only a Dharma adept who had attained the 7th grade golden elixir. If he had not had a fortuitous encounter in his early years, how could he have attained the Dharma stage so quickly, to the point where he was almost on par with Zhenling's 3 truths and 4 spirits? However, the Dharma power that he had attained in the end could not be compared to the Dharma power that the 3 truths and 4 spirits had attained. Although he could not be said to be at the bottom of the early Dharma adepts, he was still one of the weaker ones. Dharma power was different from a practitioner's talent. At the beginning of a practitioner's training, those who were not very talented could still be saved through various methods. However, if the quality of the Dharma power that they attained when they entered the Dharma stage was not high enough, then it would not only affect their future progress in training, but it would also affect the Dharma power of other Dharma adepts of the same level. Lu Ping could tell that this Tian Shu Laozu's training method was definitely the same as Tian Shu Laozu's. It was the same forest wall of 10,000 trees, and the same profusion of fallen petals. This was especially so for the profusion of fallen petals. If Tian Shu Laozu had used it, Lu Ping would have no choice but to retreat. However, now that Tian Shu Laozu had used it, it was instantly destroyed by Lu Ping's flying sword and the meteoric power shield of 1,000 poisons. Lu Ping's calm expression had now become so arrogant and insufferably arrogant in the eyes of Tian Shu Laozu. This was blatant mockery. Tian Shu Laozu suddenly slapped his chest, and a green rock flew out from the space in his heart. This was Tian Shu Laozu's Dharma power. The rock raised its head to the sky and let out a shrill cry. It flapped its wings in the sky, and countless feathers once again floated down. It was the same blossoming petals of fallen petals, but when Grand Ancestor Tian Shu cast out his avatar, the power of the blossoming petals of fallen petals was more than doubled. Lu Ping's expression finally turned serious, but only slightly. Countless green and white feather-like objects formed from spiritual qi floated down from the sky. Only Lu Ping knew that these countless feathers looked soft, but in reality, each of them weighed thousands of pounds. When these feathers faced an enemy, they were like moths to a flame, falling on the practitioner's body until they completely crushed the opponent. Truth be told, Lu Ping knew that there was another powerful aspect to this profusion of fallen petals. After the feathers fell on a cultivator's body, they would immediately grow roots to pierce into the cultivator's body, absorbing the spiritual energy within the cultivator's body to nourish the cultivator. It would consume the cultivator's primary energy and magic power, destroying the cultivator's fleshly body. In fact, it could even suck away the cultivator's body until only a withered corpse was left. It was truly a powerful skill that was both beautiful and cruel. Lu Ping spread the myriad meteoric poisons evenly across the surface of his skin. Thanks to the fact that he had absorbed several famous highly poisonous items from the world of cultivation, the quality of the myriad meteoric poisons had risen to the myriad meteoric poisons level. Once the feathers fell on Lu Ping's body, they would be corroded by the myriad meteoric poisons, incapable of piercing into Lu Ping's body. However, because Tian Shu Laozu had unleashed his Dharma form, the power of the profusion of fallen petals had greatly increased. The speed at which Lu Ping's myriad meteoric poisons was far slower than the speed at which the feathers fell on his body. Each of the feathers had a weight of thousands of pounds. If it were not for the fact that Lu Ping had paid attention to the improvement of his fleshly body since a long time ago and had swallowed a lot of pills that were used to improve the quality of his fleshly body, perhaps he would not have been able to withstand the power of this skill. For a moment, Tian Shu Laozu had the upper hand. However, he could not bring himself to feel proud at all. All he could do was coldly say, "Since you are Senior Sister Tianling's disciple, I will not punish you for disrespecting your elders. Just return to Tianling Mountain and beg for forgiveness from Senior Sister Tianling." As soon as Grand Ancestor Tian Shu finished speaking, a pitch-black flame suddenly rose from Lu Ping's body. The flickering flame looked like a dancing demon that surrounded Lu Ping. From afar, Lu Ping looked like a demonic cultivator hiding in a black fog. Ha, ha, ha. While Tian Shu Laozu was in a daze, the black flame suddenly spread upwards. One by one, the feathers that were falling towards Lu Ping turned into a spiritual flame in the sky. Tian Shu Laozu turned pale with fright. This myriad fallen petals divine power used a cultivator's true energy as a guide, condensing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to form this scene of endless falling petals. It was originally the most difficult skill to resolve, but he did not expect that his opponent not only had the myriad poison meteorite energy, which was a rare defensive technique in the cultivation world, but also this strange black flame, which could actually use spiritual energy as firewood. The thicker the spiritual energy, the more intense the burning would be. Tian Shu Laozu could clearly feel that the true energy that was attached to the petals was rapidly dissipating due to the burning of this strange black flame. This black flame was a strange item that Lu Ping had obtained in his early years, called the dark prison poisonous flame. Although the quality of this flame was not as good as the myriad poison paste, which was known as the mother of all poisons, in order to improve its quality, it still needed to absorb a large amount of poisonous energy through the burning flame. In the past, when the secret burial ground was opened, the myriad poison paste gathered the poisonous energy inside and condensed many drops of myriad wonder dew, which greatly improved the quality of the dark prison poisonous flame. Both the myriad poison paste and the dark prison poisonous flame could be regarded as the nemesis of Tian Shu Laozu's myriad fallen petals divine power. Naturally, the myriad poison paste was the best at restraining it. However, the myriad poison meteorite energy was extremely difficult to control, while the myriad poison meteorite energy was only a defensive technique. It was more than enough to defend, but not enough to attack. Although the quality of the dark prison poisonous flame was slightly inferior to the myriad poison paste, it was much easier to control than the latter. Moreover, the dark prison poisonous flame was originally a violent fire seed, so it was most convenient for Lu Ping to use it to neutralize Tian Shu Laozu's divine power. Just as Lu Ping and Tian Shu Laozu were fighting, a few rays of light rose from the cave dwelling that Tian Shu Laozu had opened on the east coast of Huangli Island. They flew toward Lu Ping's cave dwelling with a murderous aura. Among the rays of light, Yuan Xuanzhan took the lead, his eyes shining with excitement. He had been waiting for this moment for far too long. Previously, because Tian Shu Laozu was worried about his reputation, he did not want to lose control of Lu Ping's cave dwelling and the island's protective formation. But this time, Lu Xianping actually dared to openly provoke Tian Shu Laozu. This gave Yuan Xuanzhan a reason to take back control of Huangli Island in one fell swoop. Of course, this was only an excuse Yuan Xuanzhan could use to suppress Lu Ping. It could also be used to cover up the thrill of revenge hidden deep in Yuan Xuanzhan's heart after being repeatedly humiliated by Lu Ping. Lu Ping's rise was too fast, so fast that Yuan Xuanzhan, who was also a third-generation disciple, felt despair. He knew that if he wanted to take revenge on Lu Xianping, he would never be able to surpass him no matter how hard he worked. As for the Yuan family, it was just a cultivation family that depended on Zhenling. In the past, the Yuan family could be said to be a fence-sitter, waiting for the right price between Zhenling and Xianling sect. But now, the Yuan family could only obediently rely on Zhenling's whims to survive. Especially when Lu Ping went missing in the Beast Tide, his teacher, Reverend Lu Xianling, caused havoc in the Yuan family. He single-handedly beat the Yuan family's core forging perfected masters into hiding in the family's ancestral hall, not daring to show their faces. Wasn't that also a warning to Zhenling? Otherwise, why didn't Reverend Xian Shu, who was also a second-generation disciple of the Yuan family and had always been at odds with Reverend Lu Xianling to help the Yuan family? Yuan Xuanzhan had already thought it through. The Yuan family was ultimately not presentable. If they wanted to become a giant, they could only rely on Zhenling and rely on the sect's resources to rise. But if they wanted to deal with Lu Xianping, they would have to rely on a righteous cause. They would also need the help of Zhenling's higher-ups, Laozu. Only then would they be able to suppress Lu Xuanping's arrogance. Yuan Xuanzhan had some foresight. He knew that with Lu Ping's strength and influence in Zhenling, he was almost invincible among those below the Dharma adept level. Even if there were people who could match him, they would definitely not stand up and challenge the sect leader's disciple. Moreover, this water sword deity was Zhenling's third Grandmaster Alchemist. Who would offend a Grandmaster Alchemist for no reason, let alone a Grandmaster Alchemist? Coincidentally, at this time, his uncle had come out of seclusion and become Zhenling's second Dharma adept, Laozu. His uncle had always been at odds with Zhenling's sect leader, and this immediately gave Yuan Xuanzhan hope. As expected, Tian Shu Laozu, who was opposed to Zhenling's centralization of power, took advantage of Tian Qin Laozu's time to come out of seclusion to take charge of Huangli Island. The biggest disagreement between Tian Shu Laozu and Tianling Laozu was because they had a major disagreement on the development of Zhenling. Nearly 100 years ago, Reverend Lu Xianling, who was in charge of Zhenling sect's affairs, had a fierce conflict with Reverend Xian Shu. However, at that time, Reverend Xian Shu seized the opportunity and pushed Reverend Lu Xianling down from his position as the sect's deacon. Lu Tianling Laozu was a supporter of Zhenling's centralization of power. He believed that only by concentrating Zhenling's power in the hands of the sect leader, Zhenling's limited resources could be used to quickly cultivate disciples with potential and increase Zhenling's strength. At the same time, in the face of the approaching Mara's disaster, only the sect leader could gather enough power to resist Mara's disaster and quickly take measures according to the development of the situation. This way, Zhenling's strongest power could be used to minimize the losses. Tian Shu Laozu, on the other hand, was a supporter of Zhenling's balance of power. At the same time, he was also a supporter of Zhenling's tens of thousands of years of inheritance. What he valued more was the balance and restriction of power in Zhenling's inheritance and development. He believed that the establishment of a sect leader would greatly damage Zhenling's inheritance system. Without restriction and supervision, a sect leader with great power could easily cause the formation of unfair events. Huangli Island was the embodiment of this unfairness. As the last disciple of the sect leader, how could a cultivator who had only cultivated for a little more than 100 years be able to accumulate such a large foundation in the isolated Huangli Island? Did he rely on his own strength? Huangli Island had a large amount of resources for training. The small Huangli Island's spirit vein had reached the middle rank. Even most of the medium-sized islands couldn't catch up. Why didn't the sect take back the spirit vein? Was it because he was the sect leader's disciple? Chapter 856. Yuan Xuanzhan took the lead, followed by 2 more rays of light. These 2 rays of light belonged to Tianshu Laozu's 2 disciples, both of whom were at the core forging stage. Behind them were 2 more rays of light. These 2 rays of light looked very solid. Obviously, they were stronger than the first 3 rays of light, but for some reason, they were lagging behind Yuan Xuanzhan's group. One of the last 2 rays of light was none other than Taoist Master Xuanzu, whom Lu Ping was familiar with. Taoist Master Xuanzu was Tianshu Laozu's eldest disciple, and also a disciple that Tianshu Laozu valued as his successor. She was also a well-known cultivator among the 3rd-generation disciples of Jinling. Although she was slightly inferior to Taoist Master Xiantian, she was still one of Jinling's direct disciples. Otherwise, she would not have been one of the 7 people who accompanied Tianqin Laozu to the Fantasy Spirit City auction. However, Taoist Master Xuanzu's heart was very tangled at this time. He was now at the peak of the 7th stage of the core forging stage, and his status in Jinling was even higher than some of the 2nd-generation cultivators in the late core forging stage. He knew some of the secrets of Jinling's higher-ups, and he had some guesses and analysis about his teacher's current situation. Moreover, he had been in contact with Lu Ping for a period of time. He knew that this little junior brother of theirs, who had less than 100 years of cultivation time than them, was really not easy to deal with. Not only did he have endless trump cards in his hands, but he was also no weaker than anyone else. Tianqin Laozu was so arrogant in Jinling that there was almost no junior disciple that she would take seriously, not to mention that he was the disciple of Lu Tianling's martial uncle. However, this junior brother Lu dared to go toe-to-toe with Tianqin Laozu on Jingzhe Island. At that time, he was only at the middle core forging stage, but the final result was even more shocking. The 2 had clashed several times, and it seemed that in the end, Lu Ping had the upper hand, which finally made Tianqin Laozu look at him in a different light. From enlightened Master Xian Su's point of view, a person like Lu Ping would never act rashly in a fit of anger. He would only act calmly after planning. This time, Lu Ping had challenged his teacher, Tianshu Laozu, the moment he returned to Huangli Island. This junior brother Lu must have a trump card that no one knew about. Even if he couldn't turn defeat into victory, he could at least make it so that no one could do anything to the other. However, one should not forget that Tianshu Laozu was still a Dharma adept after all. If they really reached a point where neither of them could do anything to the other, even if neither of them suffered any losses, Tianshu Laozu would still lose. The North Sea practitioners would not say that Lu Ping was taking advantage of Jinling. They would only say that a dignified Dharma adept could not handle a junior practitioner in the core forging stage. Needless to say, after this battle, Lu Xuanping's name as the Aquasword deity would definitely become even more famous in Jinling. Beside enlightened Master Xian Su was another 2nd-generation adept of Jinling, enlightened Master Xian Cheng. He was already at the 9th level of the core forging stage and was once in charge of Jinling's criminal law. He could be considered a 2nd-generation adept of Jinling. Like enlightened Master Tianshu, he was also an opponent of Jinling's centralization of power. In the past, he was also one of the masterminds behind enlightened Master Lu Xuanling's downfall from his position as a deacon. At this moment, enlightened Master Xianchang's face was filled with worry. His worry stemmed from an unintentional warning from Fornax Laozu. Enlightened Master Xianchang was like enlightened Master Xianshu before he entered the Dharma stage. He could be said to be one of the few people who were second only to Jinling's 3 truths and 4 spirits. It was just that enlightened Master Xianshu's luck was much better than the others. He was only a few decades behind that's 3 truths and 4 spirits before he successfully entered the Dharma stage. Enlightened Master Xianchang, on the other hand, did not have the same luck as enlightened Master Xianshu. He could only practice step by step. As such, it was extremely difficult to condense a golden core of the 7th grade and above. It was even more difficult to condense a Dharma power. After enlightened Master Xianchang had come out of seclusion to guard Huangli Island, enlightened Master Xianchang had once gone to consult Fornax Laozu to see if there was any way to help him smelt a heaven-level spirit object and condense a golden core of the 7th grade. This way, he would be able to fight for his Dharma power in the future. At that time, Fornax Laozu had hinted to enlightened Master Xianchang not to get involved in the affairs of Huangli Island. In his words, he had hinted that whether or not he could smelt a heaven-level spirit object and condense a golden core of the 7th grade depended on enlightened Master Lu Xianping. However, at that time, enlightened Master Xianchang did not care. He was only overjoyed because Fornax Laozu had said that he still had hope of advancing to the Dharma stage. As for the method to condense a golden core of the 7th grade, other than finding a suitable heaven-level spirit object, it was nothing more than a secret pill. Since enlightened Master Lu Xianping could make it, then Uncle Master Fornax and Junior Sister Tianqin could naturally do it as well. Could it be that these two experienced alchemists could not compare to enlightened Master Lu Xianping? However, he had no choice but to regret it now. He had been a part of the upper echelons of Jinling for many years. Although because of the expansion of the number of Dharma adepts in Jinling, he had lost the right to participate in many of the decisions of Jinling. However, his hundreds of years of knowledge and experience allowed him to finally see that Huangli Island was actually a trap. A trap that Lu Tianling Laozu had dug for senior brother Tianshu in order to completely control Jinling and unify all the opposing voices in Jinling. This pair of master and disciple, one in the light and one in the dark, cooperated with each other and had a tacit understanding. Senior brother Tianshu had probably already realized this the moment he started to fight for control of Huangli Island. However, at that time, he had no choice but to jump into this trap. Moreover, senior brother Tianshu did not believe that this trap could really bury him. But because of her disciple, Lu Xianping, Tianshu Laozu's cold smile was still deeply engraved in enlightened Master Xianchang's mind. However, the scene in front of him was still vivid in his mind. The cunning and astute Lu Tianling really did rely on her disciple. What a good Lu Tianling, what a good water sword immortal. Yuan Xuanzhan's escape light suddenly stopped, and then the other escape lights also stopped. Enlightened Master Xianchang did not understand what was going on. When he looked up, he saw that in front of the door of Lu Ping's cave, there was a burly, bald man looking at them with a mocking expression. Enlightened Master Xianchang scanned the man with his divine sense and was stunned. The person in front of him was actually a peak core forging cultivator. Without waiting for enlightened Master Xianchang's reminder, Yuan Xuanzhan, who was in front of him, stepped forward and shouted, "Who are you? How dare you block the way again?" The bald man stared at Yuan Xuanzhan in amusement for a while, then said, "It's really funny. The few of you want to barge into my master's cave residence, yet you still ask who I am indiscriminately. Are you out of your mind?" This bald man was naturally the lone killer Lei Lao, Lei Di from the Central Plains. Lu Ping naturally knew that enlightened Master Xianchang wasn't the only one guarding Huangli Island. There were bound to be other disciples under his command. Hence, he left sixth brother Lei behind to guard the cave dwelling to prevent Tian Shu Grand Ancestor's disciples from stealing the cave dwelling when he was busy fighting with Tian Shu Grand Ancestor. Only now did Yuan Xuanzhan notice that the person in front of him was actually a peak core forging cultivator. A murderous aura rushed towards him. He didn't know how many people this person had killed, but Yuan Xuanzhan, who had already advanced to the middle stage of core forging, knew that he was definitely not this person's opponent. He wanted to say a few tough words, but he was overwhelmed by the murderous aura. At this time, enlightened Master Xiansu suddenly took a step forward and stood in front of Yuan Xuanzhan. "You must be joking. With your cultivation, how could you have reached the point of becoming someone's slave?" Lei Laolu smiled bitterly and pointed at the group fighting in the sky. "Didn't he even dare to fight with Dharma Xiang Laozu? What's so strange about me acknowledging him as my master?" Although enlightened Master Xian Su was unwilling, she still said, "Please step aside. This is my Zhenling's matter. This cave must be taken back. Although you are strong, this is my Zhenling's territory. If there is a conflict, even junior brother Xianping may not be able to protect you." Lei Laolu sneered disdainfully and did not say anything. He looked at Yuan Xuanzhan and the others with undisguised ridicule. It was obvious that he was mocking them for overestimating themselves. It wasn't just enlightened Master Xian Su who was furious. Behind her, enlightened Master Xianchang was also slightly angered. This was Zhenling's territory. How dare an outsider behave atrociously here? Yuan Xuanzhan was the first to lose his cool. Although he was only a mid-core forging cultivator, he knew that the person in front of him was clearly not a Zhenling cultivator. As long as he could provoke a melee, no matter how strong this person was, Zhenling would never side with an outsider. Perhaps he could even accuse Lu Xianping of colluding with an external enemy. As the saying goes, evil breeds courage. Yuan Xuanzhan stretched out his hand and pushed Lei Laolu. "How dare you? Zhenling is not a place where you can behave atrociously." Enlightened Master Xian Su was shocked. Just as she was about to stop him, Yuan Xuanzhan had already made his move. A giant spiritual palm formed in front of him and slammed towards Lei Laolu. As soon as Yuan Xuanzhan made his move, the two disciples of Tian Shu Laozu also made their moves. Enlightened Master Xian Su and Enlightened Master Xianchang had no choice but to make their move. When Lei Laolu saw that the person in front of him was really going to attack him, a murderous look flashed across his face. Although Lu Ping had ordered him to guard the cave, he hadn't told him to hurt anyone. Lei Laolu had only appeared outside the cave because he wanted to use his peak core forging cultivation to force the person in front of him to retreat. He never thought that these people in front of him would be so arrogant. A few mid-core forging minor repairs dared to attack him. Did they really think that everyone in the cultivation world was Lu Xianping? Yuan Xuanzhan was secretly pleased with himself when he heard enlightened Master Xianchang and enlightened Master Xuanzu cry out, "Watch out!" A gust of cold wind blew past Yuan Xuanzhan's ear. Before he could understand what was going on, he felt his body tighten. The true essence in his blood vessels was completely sealed. Yuan Xuanzhan was scared out of his wits. When he looked up to see what was going on, his vision went black. Then he felt a sharp pain, followed by a feeling of being in the clouds. After that, he didn't know anything else. Chapter 857. Let him go. Enlightened Master Xuanzu pointed her natal magic treasure at sixth brother Lei. She looked at Yuan Xuanzhan, who had been captured by sixth brother Lei, as if she would fight to the death at the slightest disagreement. At this moment, Taoist Xianchang took a step forward and said, "Fellow Taoist, if you're really Martial Nephew Lu's subordinate, then you should naturally know that if anything happens to the person you captured, then I'm afraid it'll be difficult for Martial Nephew Lu to explain it to him." Although the two of them refused to compromise, sixth brother Lei's ability to capture Yuan Xuanzhan so easily despite the two of them working together was enough to make the two of them gasp. They knew that even if they joined forces, they would still be no match for the person in front of them. However, they couldn't show any weakness at this moment. They could only brace themselves and hold on. Sixth brother Lei smiled innocently and said, "Don't worry, enlightened masters. This kid wants to drag the two of you down with him, but I'm not a reckless person. However, shouldn't the two of you look up at the sky now?" What? Enlightened Master Xuanzu and enlightened Master Xianchang looked at the smiling sixth brother Lei and had a bad feeling. When they looked up, they didn't know when the battle between the two had ended. Speaking of which, Tian Shu Laozu's heart palpitated when he saw Lu Ping's strange dark prison poison fire so easily dispelled his ability. However, he couldn't think of anything else now, and Lu Ping wouldn't give him any more time to think. Tian Shu Laozu's rock swooped down, a pair of sharp claws reaching out from his abdomen and grabbing at Lu Ping. Tian Shu Laozu actually attacked with his Dharma avatar. This was out of Lu Ping's expectations. Although Dharma avatars were powerful, they were most likely to be injured if they were displayed in front of the opponent like this, unless it was a critical moment. Of course, Tian Shu Laozu's divine powers and spells were not limited to these, but the ones he used against his enemies were naturally powerful divine powers and spells. However, these spells were easily neutralized by Lu Ping, and Tian Shu Laozu himself had not been able to find out the depth of the person in front of him. For a moment, he was at a loss of what to do, and so he directly commanded his Dharma power to attack. This was also because Tian Shu Laozu had just entered the Dharma stage and had not done much research on the techniques of the Dharma stage. He also did not have much experience fighting against Dharma stage cultivators. The rock's sharp claws plunged straight into the dark prison poison fire. The strange flames climbed up and burned the rock's golden claws. Tian Shu Laozu's face turned pale, and it was obvious that he was in great pain. The rock Dharma form also let out a shrill cry, but its sharp claws were not actually damaged by the poisonous fire, and it continued to claw at Lu Ping's head. Ding, ding. Two sounds of metal clashing rang out, and the rock circled back into the sky. Lu Ping's My Lady Autumn Dew sword was pulled back. Even though Lu Ping's inner yuan was thick and strong, he was still shaken by the rock's claws. An evil wind came from above, and as the rock circled above Lu Ping's head, its golden beak suddenly pecked at Lu Ping. Lu Ping snorted coldly, and his right hand's middle finger and index finger stretched out. He drew 9 circles at the pecking beak above his head, and streaks of bluish-purple water lines appeared out of thin air above Lu Ping's head. They formed a noose, and coincidentally, the rock's extended beak was caught in it. Lu Ping's right hand suddenly made a pulling motion, and the noose formed by the 9 water lines suddenly tightened, binding the rock's beak tightly. In Lu Ping's hands, the art of water control had already reached the acme of perfection. The rock had no choice but to flap its wings, and a hurricane surged out, attacking Lu Ping's head. At the same time, cracks appeared in the surrounding space, and strange vines reached out, wrapping around Lu Ping's body. Countless sword rays that looked like fish scales formed a cocoon around Lu Ping. The surrounding vines and grasses were all killed by the water's seep sword skill. A black flag suddenly jumped out of the sword cocoon, and gently waved at the Dharma form rock. Waves of water formed huge water ropes in the sky, wrapping around the rock's wings. Although the rock could easily break the water ropes that wrapped around its body, more and more water ropes wrapped around it. In just a moment, the Dharma form rock was swaying in the air. At that moment, he suddenly heard Tian Shu Laozu mumbling something. When Lu Ping looked up, he saw Tian Shu Laozu suddenly looking at him, with one hand pointing to the sky, and the other pointing to Lu Ping. He shouted, "Go!" As soon as he finished speaking, a thunderous sound followed, and it really gave Lu Ping a fright. Before Lu Ping raised his head to look, the violent Yi-Wood spiritual chi had already condensed in the sky above Lu Ping, and a green lightning roared down, smashing towards Lu Ping's head. Yi-Wood divine lightning. Lu Ping let out a strange cry. He did not think that Tian Shu Laozu would actually be able to practice such a remarkable technique, and it really surprised Lu Ping. Although the Yuan family relied on their thunder techniques to dominate the world, this did not mean that other people in the world of cultivation could not practice it. It was just that because the Yuan family had the blood of Pengdaoren flowing in their veins, they were able to use all the thunder techniques in the world of cultivation, and the power of these techniques was also a level higher than that of ordinary cultivators. Furthermore, they also had many secret techniques that other cultivators did not have, which were passed down through their veins. These were things that ordinary cultivators could not compare to. When other cultivators practiced thunder techniques, they could only choose a type of thunder technique that was related to their own training method, and it was not easy to practice it successfully. However, once they were able to practice it successfully, among the secret techniques in the world of cultivation, although it could not compare to the direct descendants of the Yuan family, it was still an amazing existence. Moreover, it was being used by the hands of a Dharma adept. At this time, even if Lu Ping wanted to hide, there was no use. A pure white lotus grew under his feet, and layers of dense light surrounded Lu Ping. For a moment, to outsiders, Lu Ping looked like a celestial being. As the green lightning fell, it was like cold water falling into a pot of hot oil. The heavens and the earth were boiling, and the green and white lights intertwined. For a moment, The heavens and the earth were only left with these two colors. Tian Shu Laozu's expression kept changing as he retracted his rock dharma power. Suddenly, a peachwood sword appeared in his hand. After thinking about it, he did not use it in the end. He only let the peachwood sword circle around his body, firmly protecting it as he slowly retreated. Under the cover of the green and white light, Lu Ping stood calmly in midair, looking at the light that surrounded him. A gourd glowing with 7 colors floated above Lu Ping's head, absorbing the green light from the outer layer of the gourd. The violent light blocked everyone's divine telekinesis, but it did not hinder Lu Ping's divine telekinesis, which was hidden within the light. Seeing Tian Shu Laozu put down the peachwood sword in the end and only protected himself with it, Lu Ping put back one of the 2 gentian pearls that were glowing with 5 colors. He thought to himself, "Fine, I'll just make you look bad. Although I can't kill you, if I injure you, it will be hard for teacher to explain to the other Laozu." The green and white light suddenly collapsed. Tian Shu Laozu, who was far away, was shocked. He saw that the green and white light was actually merging with each other, and then condensing into a ball of lightning the size of a wicker basket. After the ball of lightning, Lu Ping looked at Tian Shu Laozu, who was far away, with a smile on his face. He then pushed the ball of lightning in front of him, and as Tian Shu Laozu's expression changed, the ball of lightning flew towards him. Tian Shu Laozu did not have time to think about how things had turned out this way. The peachwood sword in front of him sent out 99 rays of sword light in a row. Every ray of sword light gave off a sliver of lightning, and then surrounded the sword light to weave into peach blossoms that flickered with lightning. The 99 lightning peach blossoms set off each other, and actually formed a huge lightning peach tree above Tian Shu Laozu's head. The peach tree shook, and countless leaves and petals fell from the tree. It was like a hanging curtain, protecting Tian Shu Laozu. The lightning ball finally collided with the peach tree, and countless lightning bolts jumped and flashed. 49 lightning peach blossoms were struck down, and the peach tree's shadow was mostly destroyed. But before Tian Shu Laozu could catch his breath, a bead that shone with 5-colored light had already broken through the shadow of the peach tree and was heading towards Tian Shu Laozu's chest. Tian Shu Laozu did not expect Lu Ping to be able to gather enough true essence to use a spirit-nurturing treasure while he was using such a powerful lightning spell. In a state of shock, he reached his hand out towards the shadow of the peach tree. The peach tree sword was pulled out from the trunk, and the shadow of the peach tree, which was mostly destroyed, suddenly disappeared. Only a few dozen lightning peach blossoms were left falling from the tree. The bead that shone with 5-colored light made Tian Shu Laozu feel a real sense of danger. Tian Shu Laozu tried his best to gather the true essence in his body, and the rock image formed above his head again. The peachwood sword was thrown into the air by Tian Shu Laozu, and it fused with the rock's beak. Bolts of lightning suddenly gathered in the rock's mouth, and then shot towards the 5-colored gentian bead. At that moment, a beam of light suddenly flashed in the corner of Tian Shu Laozu's eyes, and by the time Tian Shu Laozu realized what had happened, the beam of light had already shot into Tian Shu Laozu's body. Tian Shu Laozu's body suddenly froze, and the true essence in his body could not be used for a moment. Even though Tian Shu Laozu was able to break free in a split second, the 5-colored gentian bead took the opportunity to knock away the peachwood sword, and broke through the rock image's lightning. Just as Tian Shu Laozu was about to recover, the gentian bead smashed into Tian Shu Laozu's shoulder. Arg! Tian Shu Laozu screamed, and the true essence in his body shook. He could no longer maintain his floating body, and he fell from the sky. Just as sixth brother Lei reminded Xian Su and Xian Chang to look up, they saw Tian Shu Laozu screaming in pain as he fell from the sky. The two of them immediately widened their eyes, and their faces were written with, "This is impossible." Chapter 858. From the moment Lu Ping returned to the North Sea and appeared on Tianling Mountain, it wasn't just the practitioners in Jinling, but the practitioners in the entire North Sea, who had their eyes wide open, were paying attention to the direction of Huangli Island. They were paying attention to whether the famous third-generation practitioner in the North Sea would be able to take control of Huangli Island from the hands of his elders. Therefore, Everyone who was watching this conflict knew that the small Huangli Island was related to the overall direction of the internal affairs of Zhenling. It could even directly affect the development of the entire North Sea. Was it a high degree of centralization of power in the sect, or was it to maintain the tradition of the sect and maintain the balance of power in the sect? Zhenling's Lu Tianling Laozu had set up such an unfair situation in front of the stunned gazes of all the sects in the North Sea. She handed the decision to her own disciple while she hid behind the scenes. Just when everyone was shocked by Lu Tianling Laozu's decision, some sharp-eyed practitioners realized that although the possibility of Lu Tianling Laozu losing was much higher, even if Lu Tianling Laozu lost, he wouldn't lose the bet of centralization of power. Could it be that Tianshu Laozu, as a senior, was bullying a junior and was influencing his teacher's decision? But what if Lu Tianling's disciple won? A Dharma adept losing to a core forging adept, and to a junior at that? How could Tianshu Laozu have the face to go against Lu Tianling Laozu? Even if he threw away his pride, how many people in Zhenling would still be willing to follow him? With a flip of his hand, Lu Tianling Laozu beat him at his own game. He was already in an invincible position. Moreover, everyone knew that Lu Tianling had purposely dug a pit for Tianshu Laozu to jump into. How could a teacher not know his own disciple's capabilities? However, this Lu Shenping was too heaven-defying. He hadn't even reached the golden core stage, but he was able to suppress a Dharma adept with his core forging stage cultivation. For a time, the entire cultivation world of the North Sea was talking about the battle between Lu Shenping, the Aquasword Immortal, and Tianshu Laozu. The cultivators who had been isolated from the North Sea for a long time could not imagine how a core forging cultivator would dare to challenge a Transcendence Laozu, let alone defeat this Transcendence Laozu. It was like a fantasy. Immediately, some busybodies spread the news that the reason why perfected Master Lu Shenping was like that was because he had just returned from his travels in the Middle Earth. The Middle Earth was the holy land of the cultivation world, and even the Eastern Sea cultivation world was inferior to it. Lu Shenping, the Water Sword Immortal, must have had an extraordinary encounter in the Middle Earth. That was why he was so powerful and could challenge the Fa Xiang Laozu with his core forging cultivation. For a time, the North Sea's cultivation world was filled with yearning for the Middle Earth's cultivation world. Ever since the destruction of Fei Ling sect, the North Sea's cultivation world and the Middle Earth's cultivation world had lost direct contact for 4,000 years. In these 4,000 years, only the top disciples of the big sects in the North Sea had been lucky enough to travel to the Middle Earth through the East Sea. They brought back bits and pieces of news about the Middle Earth's cultivation world or some recent news about the Middle Earth's cultivation world from the East Sea's cultivation world. However, when it came to understanding the Middle Earth's cultivation world, even Zhenling, who had built a stronghold in the Yingshan mountain range, was not so arrogant. The fact that Lu Ping had defeated Tianshu Laozu in a head-on battle had also caused a huge uproar in Zhenling. Although Tianshu Laozu had been beaten to the ground by Lu Ping's Gentian Pearl and had lost all his face, he knew that Lu Ping had shown him mercy. Otherwise, he would have been severely injured at the very least. The two enlightened masters Xian Su and Xian Chong helped him up from the ground. The pale-faced Tianshu Laozu circulated the essential vitality in his body and realized that he was not seriously injured. He cast a resentful and complicated gaze at Lu Ping, who was in the sky, and said in a low voice, "Let's go." They did not even bother to pack up the cave abode on the east coast. The group left Huangli Island in a hurry. Lu Ping did not stop them. Tianshu Laozu's hurried departure immediately caused a commotion on Huangli Island. After a while, many of the patrolling cultivators on Huangli Island left. After a while, some of the cultivators who ran shops on the island also saw that the situation was not good and packed up their belongings to run away. These people were the ones who had begged Tianshu Laozu and his disciples to do business on Huangli Island after Tianshu Laozu took control of Huangli Island. Some of them even used Tianshu Laozu's deterrence to force many of the old shops on Huangli Island to leave. Now that the change of ownership of Huangli Island was a foregone conclusion, these cultivators who were worried about Lu Ping's revenge did not dare to stay any longer. One by one, They put down their errands and businesses and left Huangli Island. Lu Ping returned to his cave abode. From afar he saw sixth brother Lei standing at the entrance of his cave abode with Yuan Xuanzhan in his hand. Lu Ping smiled and walked towards sixth brother Lei. Yuan Xuanzhan had plotted against Lu Ping several times in the past, especially when he almost kidnapped Hu Lili in the open sea, causing him to die in the beast tide. Although Lu Ping did not have any direct evidence and Lu Tianling Laozu had also caused trouble in the Yuan family, it did not mean that Lu Ping was willing to let him go. It was just that Lu Ping had a lot of things to do and the complicated relationships in the sect. On top of that, Lu Tianling Laozu had just ascended to the position of sect master. Lu Ping did not want to affect his master's plan to take control of the sect, so he had been tolerating it. However, now that Lu Ping had reached the stage when he looked back at the Yuan family, he really looked like a clown. Even with Tian Shu Laozu's support, if Lu Ping insisted on destroying the Yuan family, not many people could stop him. What a joke! Now that Lu Ping was a force in Jinling who could defeat a Dharma adept. Who in the North Sea cultivation world would dare to treat him as a core forging adept? After this battle, Lu Ping's status in Jinling would definitely rise. Although he might not be able to be on the same level as Tian Qing, Tian Shan, and Tian Feng Laozu due to his seniority, any decision made in Jinling would probably not be able to bypass Lu Ping. This was the status that came with power. And Lu Tianling Laozu, as the sect master, would definitely have more control over the sect because of his disciple. Once Tianlin Laozu passed his first Dharma tribulation and reached the mid-Dharma stage, Jinling would officially enter the era where the second generation of disciples would take over Jinling. Sixth brother Lei looked at Lu Ping and laughed. Now that you mention it, it's funny. The North Sea cultivation world is really like a bunch of country bumpkins who have never seen the world. When they saw that you defeated a Dharma adept, they were even more shocked than if they had seen a ghost. Lu Ping smiled and said, "The North Sea has been isolated for a long time. At most, they have only had some contact with the East Sea cultivation world. Not many people know that there are different levels of Dharma adepts of the same level. My uncle Master Tian Shu is just one of the weaker early Dharma adepts. Defeating him is nothing to brag about." Sixth brother Lei pointed at Lu Ping and laughed. "You're being unreasonable. You're a guy who even dares to fight a mid-Dharma adept. Even Fan Yuqing died at your hands. Naturally, you wouldn't care about early Dharma adepts. What I find strange is that in a place as barren as the North Sea, there's something strange about you." Lu Ping smiled and said, "Brother Lei, don't be so pretentious. With Brother Lei's strength, even in the big sects in the Central Plains, you're one of the strongest direct disciples. Even in the 5 Holy Lands, with Brother Lei's assassination skills, you might be able to fight against the direct disciples. But now you're laughing at me." Sixth brother Lei stopped joking and said seriously, "You've made your uncle master suffer such a huge loss and lost so much face in the cultivation world. Yet you let him go. Aren't you afraid that he'll seek revenge in the future? You must know that it's easy to dodge a spear in the open, but hard to defend against a stab in the dark. Although you're powerful, you're still not at the peak of the cultivation world. There are plenty of people who can defeat you." Lu Ping shook his head and said, "Brother Lei, I can't kill him. My fight with Uncle Master Tian Shu is only about the inheritance of the sect and the way to expand. It's not a fight to the death. If I really kill him, the Jinling sect will definitely fall into internal strife. The Laozu, especially the first Laozu, will definitely interfere. When that happens, all of Master's plans will be for naught. What's more, this person had the chance to kill me in the past, but in the end he didn't take the opportunity to settle this personal grudge. No matter what, I should let him go." Sixth brother Lei shook his head, clearly not approving or disapproving of Lu Ping's methods. Instead, he threw Yuan Xuanzhan to the ground and said, "This guy took advantage of the time when you were fighting to seize the cave. I'm afraid he even planned to kidnap your wife. After I stopped him, he even tried to drag the core forging cultivators behind him into the water in an attempt to besiege me. Now that I've captured him, you can deal with him as you see fit." Lu Ping thought for a moment, then extended a finger and pointed at the unconscious Yuan Xuanzhan on the ground. A golden mist instantly entered Yuan Xuanzhan's chest. The intense pain woke Yuan Xuanzhan from his coma. He felt as if his body was being bitten by countless things, causing him to roll on the ground. What did you do to me? The intense pain did not affect Yuan Xuanzhan's rationality. Have you heard of the myriad poison serum? When Lu Ping's words entered Yuan Xuanzhan's ears, it was as if a devil was teasing him. You're willing to use such a precious thing to kill me. Amidst his shrill and hoarse roar, Yuan Xuanzhan finally made his meaning clear. Sixth brother Lei revealed a trace of admiration and said, "You have some tough bones." Lu Ping did not show the slightest expression on his face towards Yuan Xuanzhan, who had been tortured like a ghost by the myriad poison meteorite qi. Instead, he continued in a cold voice, "Do you know of the 8 Scenic Restaurant?" The pain in Yuan Xuanzhan's body had already subsided. Although he did not know why Lu Ping was still alive after injecting the myriad poison serum into his body, when he heard Lu Ping's words, he suddenly raised his head and said, "You're not going to kill me?" Lu Ping ignored his astonishment and said, "The golden mist I injected into your core space is not the myriad poison serum, but the myriad poison meteorite qi that I refined. You come from the Yuan family, so you must have some knowledge. You should know that your life is in my hands. Unless your cultivation surpasses mine in the future, your life is in my hands. Even a great cultivator cannot save you." Chapter 859. Why don't you just kill me? Yuan Xuanzhan finally stood up in front of Lu Ping. By now, he had calmed down and was staring at Lu Ping with a pair of dark eyes. Lu Ping shook his head. "Leng Qian might not be Master's favorite, but she's still my senior sister. You're her Dao companion, so I won't kill you. In the future, you'll be on duty in the Baiyang Tower." What big words! The Baiyang Tower is a great treasure that Tianlin Laozu found outside. You, Lu Xianping, can send me there with a single word. Do you really think that Zhenling belongs to your family? Lu Ping sneered. Although Zhenling doesn't belong to my family, the Baiyang Tower is mine. If I put someone in there, not even Senior Grandmaster Tian Xiang can say anything. Yuan Xuanzhan stared at Lu Ping, dumbfounded. When Tianlin Laozu brought the Baiyang Tower back to the sect, it had caused quite a stir. The Baiyang Tower was a treasure between a treasure and a heavenly grotto heaven. In terms of quality, it might not be as good as a true heavenly grotto heaven treasure, but it only had 2 real functions. One was to suppress, like a prison, to imprison opponents in the tower. The other was a trial. The 8th Scenic Tower could create different illusions by placing different spiritual treasures. Moreover, these illusions were extremely realistic, as if they were different worlds. It could also evolve into different beasts and birds of prey according to the grade of the spiritual treasures. It was an excellent place for disciples to train. This was especially true for the second function. The sect would nurture some disciples to be used, but none of them had any knowledge or experience. They only knew how to follow the instructions, so how could they have any future? Those divine abilities and magical arts could only be mastered through life and death battles. However, if these disciples were to be sent out to train, it was unknown how many losses they would suffer each time. If these disciples could train in the 8th Scenic Tower before being sent out, it would be extremely beneficial to their growth and training. Only the great sects with deep foundations would have a place like the Baiyang Tower. Zhenling had once tried to refine a similar treasure, but the method to refine such treasures was usually forbidden by the great sections. Zhenling had no way of obtaining it. Moreover, the amount of spirit materials and energy needed to refine such a treasure was no less than refining a similar type of heavenly grotto heaven treasure. For Zhenling, this was an unbearable burden. Yuan Xuanzhan never thought that the Baiyang Tower that Zhenling Laozu regarded as the sect's treasure was actually Lu Ping's. Looking at Lu Ping's matter-of-fact expression, Yuan Xuanzhan couldn't bring himself to suspect anything. Moreover, Lu Ping wasn't lying to him. Seeing Yuan Xuanzhan disappear into the teleportation formation, 6th brother Lei, who had been muttering to himself, suddenly asked, "Is that Baiyang Tower something from the Surplus Heaven sect?" Lu Ping curiously looked at 6th brother Lei and asked, "How did brother Lei know?" Sixth brother Lei chuckled and didn't say anything. Lu Ping knew that he didn't want to say something, so he didn't ask him again. At this time, sixth brother Lei opened his mouth and said, "You want him to be a guard?" When sixth brother Lei revealed the origins of the Baiying Tower, Lu Ping already knew that sixth brother Lei knew many of its secrets. Thus, he wasn't surprised to hear sixth brother Lei mention the Baiying Tower's guard. Lu Ping nodded and said, "His cultivation is at the 5th layer of core forging, so he can be a guard on the 5th layer." Sixth brother Lei said doubtfully, "It seems that the Baiying Tower has already been brought back to Jinling. Didn't the Laozu arrange for guards on each layer to be responsible for the disciples' trials and to suppress the cultivators imprisoned in the tower? Aren't you afraid of offending the Laozu by arranging for him to be there?" Lu Ping glanced at sixth brother Lei and said, "Keep your thoughts to yourself. Since I'm making an example out of Yuan Xuanzhan, it's not just for one person. This time, I'm just a pawn. But after suppressing Tian Shu, it means that I can also be a pawn in the sect. I'll demote Yuan Xuanzhan to 8th Scenic Pavilion, and the sect's grand ancestor will definitely give in." Sixth brother Lei gave a thumbs up and said, "You're awesome. You've established your prestige in front of your Laozu." Lu Ping chuckled and said, "What else can I do? This time, it was the Laozu who used me as a spear. No matter what, I have to compensate them. Besides, I've already refined the stone tablet on the 8th layer of the Baiying Tower, so the final decision of the guard arrangement lies with me." Sixth brother Lei looked at Lu Ping walking towards the cave dwelling and murmured, "I knew you were a cunning brat." The two entered the cave dwelling and saw Hu Lili and Ling Long chatting passionately. Ling Long's wine cauldron had already stopped spinning. The mid-sized spirit vein that Tian Shu Laozu had previously moved to the east coast had now been reversed by Ling Long's wine cauldron. It had been drawn back and suppressed under the cave dwelling to prevent it from flowing away. Lu Ping nodded at Hu Lili and said, "Since the spirit vein has been taken back, you still have to take care of the formation. Let's go according to the original distribution." The many cultivators on Huangli Island had yet to recover from the shocking battle above Huangli Island when they suddenly heard a muffled rumbling sound coming from the ground below Huangli Island. Just when everyone was at a loss, a cultivator with a keen divine sense suddenly exclaimed, "The spiritual energy is rising again." The concentration of spiritual energy on Huangli Island is rising. Spiritual Master Lu Xianping has taken back the spirit vein. Those branch veins must be full of spiritual energy now. Doesn't that mean those abandoned cave dwellings can be used for cultivation again? Speaking of which, Spiritual Master Lu Xianping is really generous. Not only did he deliberately draw out a few small spirit veins to build cave dwellings for cultivators to cultivate, he also used the spiritual fields as a medium to spread the spiritual energy in the spirit veins through the island's protective formation. This caused the concentration of spiritual energy on the entire Huangli Island to be twice as high as other places. No wonder Huangli Island can attract so many cultivators. Many cultivators swarmed towards the few small spirit veins that Hu Lili had deliberately left behind to benefit the cultivators on the island. Since the spirit veins on the island were once again under Spiritual Master Lu Xuanping's control, the cave dwellings on those branch veins must have become delicious cakes. The faster you move, the less you move. A few days later, the attentive cultivators found that the concentration of spiritual energy on the entire Huangli Island seemed to be increasing slowly even after it had returned to its previous level. Just when many cultivators were secretly wondering about it, news came from the disciples stationed at Jinling Island that the concentration of spiritual energy on Huangli Island would double from the original basis. Furthermore, they would also draw out a few branch veins from the spirit veins on the west coast to build cave dwellings for cultivators to rent. When the news came, all the cultivators on Huangli Island rushed to spread the news. The number of people coming and going on Huangli Island suddenly increased by 20%. If it wasn't for the fact that the area of Huangli Island was really limited, and the fact that the spiritual energy gathering area on the island had been used by the outer disciples of Jinling's sect to plant various spiritual grains and herbs instead of being used to expand the market area of Huangli Island, the number of people on Huangli Island might be even more terrifying. In the cave dwelling, Hu Lili said worriedly, Are we being a little too extravagant? Ever since the spirit veins on the island gathered into a middle-sized spirit vein, we've been searching everywhere for years, but we've only hidden a small spirit vein secretly without being discovered by Uncle Tianshu. If we continue to use it like this, 1/10 of the entire spirit vein will be given to others for free. Lu Ping smiled and said, "How can we give it to others for free? The cave dwellings on those branch veins can at least recover a batch of spiritual stones, right? As for increasing the concentration of spiritual energy on the entire island, that's just a gimmick. How much resources can we waste from the spirit vein?" Hu Lily said, "We have to take care of our own cultivation first. Although half of the middle-sized spirit vein is enough for us to cultivate on a daily basis, don't forget that you still have a few little guys with you. Which one of them is easy to deal with? You have a lot of friends from the same sect. Sometimes, they need to practice their supernatural powers and secret techniques, and sometimes, they need to go into closed-door cultivation. However, they can't wait to go to the sect, so they have to come to you to borrow the spirit vein. In this way, a middle-sized spirit vein is barely satisfactory. If several of us go into closed-door cultivation at the same time, I'm afraid we won't even have enough for ourselves." Lu Ping glared at sixth brother Lei, who had been watching Lu Ping being scolded and gloating. He rubbed his chin and said with a chuckle, "Don't worry, look at what this is." After saying that, Lu Ping took out a few boxes from his storage artifact and lifted the spirit-locking talisman on them. A few round and crystal-clear beads appeared in front of Hu Lily. Spirit-gathering beads? Why are there so many of them? Hu Lily looked at the rolling spirit-gathering beads in the box and asked in surprise. There were 9 small-sized spirit-gathering beads in the box. They were the 4 that Lu Ping had obtained from the Fist Valley in Yingshan Mountain Range and the 3 that he had obtained from Sangyu at the Underground Trade Fair in Tianxian Ancient City. In addition, Ling Long had also condensed some of the small-sized spirit-gathering beads into 2 small-sized spirit-gathering beads. Other than the 9 spirit-gathering beads, there were also 5 small-sized spirit-gathering beads. These were the leftover beads that Ling Long had used to fuse with the small-sized spirit-gathering beads. Hu Lily happily kept these spirit-gathering beads and said, "That's great. With this, Huangli Island can have 2 middle-sized spirit veins. The remaining small-sized spirit veins can be rented out again. At the same time, it can also increase the density of the spiritual energy in the entire Huangli Island and attract more cultivators." Hu Lily set up a formation in the center of the cave abode and placed the 9 small-sized spirit-gathering beads in different positions on the formation plate. Dense spiritual energy quickly filled the cave abode. This was a spirit fusion formation that could accelerate the speed at which the spirit-gathering beads were transformed into spirit veins. Under normal circumstances, it would take a year to catalyze a spirit-gathering bead into a spirit vein. However, with the support of the spirit fusion formation, it would only take 3 months for the transformation to be completed. Of course, this spirit fusion formation could not be casually set up. One could tell just by looking at the dozens of high-grade spirit stones embedded around the formation plate. Moreover, these spirit stones had to be changed from time to time as the formation operated. Chapter 860. The spiritual qi concentration on Huangli Island continued to rise. News of the quality of the spirit veins on the island also spread. The number of cultivators traveling between Huangli Island and the North Sea increased again. Many cultivators began to try to obtain the right to live on Huangli Island for a long time. If not for the limited area of Huangli Island, the daily flow of people on Huangli Island would have already exceeded 5,000. The most obvious change was on a highland on the west coast, where the patrolling disciples of Zhenling's sect had once again opened up a few more cave abodes. 5 mini-energy veins were drawn out from the main energy vein on the island to supply the energy needs of these cave abodes. The pace of construction on Huangli Island did not stop. A huge magic formation was laid down in the center of Huangli Island under Taoist Master Mystic Fox's command. Not long after, another piece of news came from Huangli Island. The magic formation in the center of Huangli Island was set up to draw in the nearby islands. Huangli Island would expand again. After the news spread, many cultivators and forces in the North Sea turned their attention to Huangli Island again. Huangli Island was now one of the few prosperous islands in the North Sea. The abundant cultivation resources in the Outer Sea attracted the North Sea cultivators to explore the hinterland of the North Sea monster race. Previously, due to the limitations of Huangli Island, it could not accommodate too many cultivators going out to sea. This time, the expansion of the island would definitely usher in a new wave of North Sea cultivators. Huangli Island itself would also become more prosperous. Just as the cultivators on Huangli Island were guessing who would be the one presiding over the magic formation to merge the islands and expand the area of Huangli Island, an even more shocking piece of news came out. The person presiding over the magic formation this time was actually the island lord of Huangli Island, Taoist Master Lu Xianping, the Water Sword Immortal. It should be noted that those who could expand the area of an island in the ocean were mostly cultivators who had mastered rare secret techniques or earth attribute techniques. There were very few cultivators who practiced earth attribute techniques in the ocean to begin with. It was even rarer to see someone who could master a technique that could expand the area of an island. Last time, Lu Ping invited Taoist Master Guoxianshan to use the great technique of moving mountains and filling seas to double the area of Huangli Island. Even so, Huangli Island was still a miniature island. This time, the spirit veins on Huangli Island had grown to the level of 2 mid-sized spirit veins. Trying to nurture a single mid-sized spirit vein on a small island was already too much to bear, resulting in a lot of wastage. This was also the reason why Tian Shu Laozu insisted on taking back the spirit veins. Now that the 2 medium-sized spirit veins were gradually taking shape, it was even more urgent to expand the area of Huangli Island. Moreover, this time, Huangli Island had to be expanded into a small island to be able to bear the burden of the 2 medium-sized spirit veins. Previously, many cultivators thought that Lu Ping would once again invite Guotianshan Laozu to use the moving mountains and filling seas divine power to expand Huangli Island. After all, Laozu Tianshan was now a Dharma form Laozu. When he used this great divine power, its power would definitely be much stronger than before. It would be enough to double the size of Huangli Island. However, there were still many cultivators who thought that perfected Lu Xianping would invite Tian Kong Laozu to come and preside over the Great Formation. These cultivators had good reasons for doing so. Perfected Lu Xianping was now like the sun in the sky in Jinling. Even Dharma form Laozu had been defeated by him. In the future, the development of Huangli Island would definitely prosper. If Huangli Island was only expanded to a small island, what if one day perfected Lu Xianping found another medium-sized spirit vein? Would Huangli Island not expand further? Naturally, perfected Lu Xianping's foresight was not that short-sighted. Therefore, he would definitely invite Tian Kong Laozu, who was a mid-Dharma form, to use the even more powerful moving mountains and filling seas divine power to directly expand Huangli Island to the level of a medium-sized island. However, now that there was suddenly news that perfected Lu Xianping was the one presiding over the Great Formation, it was inevitable that all the cultivators on Huangli Island looked at each other. Everyone knew that perfected Lu Xianping practiced water-based techniques. How could he use them to expand Huangli Island? If it was said that perfected Lu Xianping could use his divine power to completely submerge Huangli Island in the sea, perhaps many people would believe it. Tianling Mountain, Guotianshan Laozu's cave. Guotianshan Laozu looked at Chu Tiancheng Laozu in front of him with some surprise and asked, "Junior brother, you just returned to the North Sea not long ago. Didn't you say that you would stay for half a year to train the disciples? Why are you returning to Yingshan Immortal Academy now?" Chu Tiancheng Laozu's expression was slightly awkward as he said, I suddenly remembered that there are still some things that I have not dealt with in the Central Plains. Moreover, I am a little worried about senior brother Liang overseeing the Immortal Academy alone, so I have to go and take a look in advance. As for the few disciples under me, I have already taught a few of them. This time, Shen Yong is planning to bring him to the Central Plains to see the world, and I have already gotten senior sister Tianling's approval. Guotianshan Laozu looked at him suspiciously and said, I always feel that you have something that you are not telling us. Don't tell me that you ran away because of the fight with martial nephew Xianping? Chu Tiancheng Laozu opened his mouth and said, "How do you know?" Then he seemed to realize something and immediately changed his words, shouting loudly, "How could I run away? Isn't it because there are still some things that I have not dealt with in the Central Plains?" Looking at Guotianshan Laozu's mocking gaze, Chu Tiancheng Laozu helplessly sighed and said, "You have also seen that senior brother Tianshu was defeated by him so easily. Although I have defeated senior brother Tianshu, it is extremely difficult for me to defeat him as easily as that brat. In that case, the old man really does not have the confidence to defeat him. Moreover, that brat has endless tricks up his sleeves. Who knows if he still has some trump cards that he has not shown. If I really fall into his trap, the reputation of the old man will be ruined just like senior brother Tianshu." Guotianshan Laozu laughed and said, "This does not sound like something that Thunderfire would say. But it is indeed not the right time for you to fight with him. After all, he is a junior and he is very powerful now. If you really fight with him, regardless of the outcome, it will be troublesome if senior sister Tianling misunderstands." Tiancheng Laozu was stunned and said, "No way, you and I have always been neutral. I have never supported brother Tianshu. Senior sister Tianling believes you, but others may not, especially those who oppose the establishment of a sect leader." Tiancheng Laozu said solemnly, "No way. At this point they still want to fight? Why doesn't Uncle Master Tian Xiang do something about it?" Guotianshan Laozu smiled bitterly and said, "They can't win now, but that doesn't mean they have given up. They are waiting for senior sister Tianling to make a mistake." Tiancheng Laozu sighed and said, "I hope this will not affect the development of the sect." Tanshan Laozu shook his head and said, "They won't. Our sect is already established in the North Sea. They are only fighting over the speed at which our sect rises and the long-term layout in the future. Both sides are people who know the big picture, so they won't mess up. Moreover, Uncle Master Tianxiang is in charge. As long as he is there will be no internal strife in our sect." Then what if that day really comes, what level do you think senior brother Tianlin will reach? Oh, that's true. Uncle Master Tian Xiang has at least 400 to 500 years left to live. With senior brother Tianlin's talent, I'm afraid he has already become a grand cultivator. Don't forget about senior sister Tianling and junior sister Tianqin. Both of them also have a chance to go through the second Thunder Tribulation, especially senior sister Tianling. Ever since she entered the Dharma phase, her cultivation and strength seem to have grown more and more unimaginable. Otherwise, junior sister Tianqin wouldn't have gone into seclusion to cultivate. That's true. They have been fighting for hundreds of years. It would be strange if one of them gave up. But senior brother, you seem to have missed one person. Tianshan Laozu looked at Tiancheng Laozu in confusion. Then, he came to a realization and said, "You mean junior nephew Xianping? Although it's extremely difficult to become a grand cultivator in 500 years, with junior nephew Xuanping's current condition, it's very likely that he will pass through the first Thunder Tribulation." Tiancheng Laozu laughed. He can already defeat an early Dharma adept. When the time comes, even if he is only a mid-Dharma adept, which grand cultivator would dare to look down on him? Tianshan Laozu laughed. That's true. At the same time, in another cave abode on Tianling Mountain, Tianshu Laozu sat down with an ashamed look on his face. In front of him was Tianfan Laozu, who was trimming a bush of flowers. "Teacher, are we just going to let it go like this?" Ancestor Tianfan placed the scissors he used to trim his plants to one side. He picked up a flask of spiritual water and slowly poured it over the plants. He said slowly, "Don't tell me you still haven't given up?" Tianshu Laozu's expression changed. In the end, he said fiercely, "I didn't expect that senior sister Lu Tianling would be so calculative, and that disciple of hers is even more demonic. I'm useless and I've embarrassed you, teacher." Ancestor Tianfan put down the water bottle in his hand and glanced at the dispirited ancestor Tianshu. He said, "Weren't you scheming against her as well? If junior niece Tianling wasn't scheming enough, she wouldn't have had a chance to become the sect master. Since you've lost to her, it just means that we've made a good choice in choosing the sect master. Ancestor Tian Fan pulled down a towel from the wooden rack beside him. As he wiped his hands, he said, "Since you've lost, martial niece Tian Ling's influence in our sect has already been established. Her position as sect master is in jail." Tian Fan Laozu threw the towel on the wooden rack and glanced at Tian Shu Laozu. He added, "She's in jail for stepping on your shoulders." Seeing Tian Shu Laozu laugh bitterly, Tian Fan Laozu then continued, "As for that Xianping kid actually being able to defeat you, although it surprised the old man a little, it's still within reason. It's a pity that you haven't been to the central mainland. The North Sea training world has ultimately limited your vision. If you've been to the central mainland in your early years, you'd know that it's not uncommon for a late core forging disciple to go up against an early Dharma adept in the central mainland. Of course, to be able to defeat a Dharma adept, that kid Xianping must at least be at the same level as the top disciples from the 5 Holy Lands and the Crystal Palace." At this point, Tian Fan Laozu suddenly paused. He saw a small door open in the air in front of Tian Fan Laozu, and a jade scroll floated out from the door. Tian Fan Laozu took it and looked at it. He sighed and said, "Eight Sceneries Restaurant? From now on, there's another person in our sect who can play chess. And it's someone who even the few of us old fellows have to give in to." Chapter 861. Tian Shu Laozu looked at Tian Fan Laozu suspiciously. Tian Fan Laozu looked at him and said, "Take it and see for yourself." What? Tian Shu Laozu used his will to look at the jade scroll and said angrily, "How dare he? The Baiyang Tower is an important place in our sect. How can he interfere? Why can't he interfere?" Tian Fan Laozu stared at Tian Shu Laozu and said, "Why can't he interfere?" Tian Shu Laozu was discouraged by Tian Fan Laozu's stare. He calmed down and said, "He's just a third-generation disciple. He hasn't even reached the Dharma stage. How can he interfere with the Baiyang Tower? The Baiyang Tower concerns our sect. Even in our sect, only the first-generation uncles, Lu Tianling and Jiang Tianlin, have the authority to control it. What right does this kid have?" Tian Fan Laozu saw that Tian Shu Laozu was hesitant when he said that he hadn't even reached the Dharma stage. He sighed. Although this disciple in front of him was the most outstanding disciple in his sect, it would be hard for him to improve his skills in the future. Tian Fan Laozu said in a low voice, "What right? Defeating you is the right." Tian Shu Laozu's face changed, but Tian Fan Laozu's words still reached his ears. "He has already suggested to the sect that we don't need a Dharma adept to guard Huangli Island for now." Tian Shu Laozu's face was still dark, but this time he did not say much. He only said, "Xian Zhan is my nephew in the Yuan family. He is also the hope of the Yuan family." "Teacher, do you think," Tian Shu Laozu said, "do you know why Tian Ling disciple caused such a ruckus in the Yuan family, but in the end, nothing happened? On top of Huangli Island, the huge magic array was completely activated because Lu Ping had placed a best-grade spirit stone into the groove under his feet. The entire magic array first issued a loud rumbling sound, then began to violently tremble. It didn't take long before the entire Huangli Island began to tremble along with the spirit array. Looking from afar, the entire Huangli Island looked like a lid on a kettle, rising and falling along with the waves of the sea. Lu Ping took a step, and a rich purple-blue light burst out from beneath his feet. With Lu Ping as the center, threads of true essence permeated through the entire array formation in all directions. The entire formation began to emit a pale blue radiance. As the radiance flickered, the entire Huangli Island seemed to have transformed into a huge blue gemstone. How is perfected Lu Xianping planning to expand Huangli Island? At this time, in the sky above Huangli Island, there were at least 100 adepts who had obtained residency rights on Huangli Island, observing Lu Ping's technique. It was just that no matter how hard they tried, they could not understand what kind of remarkable power Lu Ping was going to use. Because of Lu Ping's technique, Huangli Island had closed its market and the teleportation portals. Hence, there were only 100 or so people who had obtained residency rights on Huangli Island. Most of these people had passed Junling's inspection, and most of them belonged to Junling's outer sect disciples, affiliated clans, powers, and a portion of non-affiliated adepts. Expanding the surface area of an island was a top-notch remarkable technique. Even a normal Dharma adept would find it difficult to use it. Hence, the people on the island naturally did not want to miss out on such a grand occasion. Just as Lu Ping was activating the entire magic array, causing the entire Huangli Island to shake, a black flag suddenly rose above Lu Ping's head. The black water-controlling flag expanded with the wind until it was at least 10 feet long and 9 feet wide. The huge flag fluttered in the wind. One after another, black ripples spread out from the surface of the water-controlling flag, spreading out towards the sea around Huangli Island. As the ripples entered the sea, the surface of the sea was instantly set off layer after layer of waves. These waves piled up higher and higher, and finally retreated towards the sea with Huangli Island as the center, creating huge waves that grew taller and taller. As the seawater flowed in all directions, the surface of Huangli Island that was close to the sea was completely exposed. The waves were pushed away by the ripples of the water-controlling flag for nearly 3 miles, causing the surface area of Huangli Island to increase by 6 miles in an instant. What is Perfected Lu doing now? Is he going to drain all the seawater around Huangli Island? But once he stops the technique, won't the seawater that he drained flow back into the island? Although the surrounding cultivators were shocked that Lu Ping was able to push away the seawater around Huangli Island by 3 miles with the help of the formation and his own power, they still had no idea what method Lu Ping was going to use to expand the area of Huangli Island. However, many of them looked at the huge flag fluttering in the wind above Lu Ping's head and said enviously, "This flag is obviously just a spiritual magical treasure, but I never expected it to have such power." Just when everyone was feeling puzzled, a huge 9th-grade lotus suddenly bloomed under Lu Ping's feet. Countless milky white rays of light condensed and spread out in all directions along with the blooming of the lotus, eventually forming 12 white beams of light that shone evenly in 12 directions around Huangli Island. The entire Huangli Island suddenly shook. A few shops on the island that were not very sturdy also collapsed due to the shaking of the island. Even though these shops were originally protected by their own enchantment arrays, they could not resist the shaking of Huangli Island. At this time, how could Lu Ping still care about the collapsed shops? This was the critical moment for him to perform the Great Sea and Mulberry Fields, and also the moment for him to demonstrate his power to the entire cultivation world of the North Sea. Wave after wave of bluish-purple energy surged towards the white jade lotus under Lu Ping's feet. On the petals of the white jade lotus, one after another, mysterious runes flickered with a mysterious luster as Lu Ping's energy surged. Gradually, a huge formation was formed on the surface of the lotus. 12 beams of light shot out from the lotus, resonating with the 12 gentian pearls that Lu Ping had set up on the island. Finally, Lu Ping's art of mulberry fields was unleashed to the extreme. Lu Ping pushed his palm outwards and shouted, "Calm the sea." The seawater that had been pushed 3 miles away by the water-controlling flag suddenly stopped flowing back, forming a vertical wall of water 3 miles away from Huangli Island. From afar, it looked as if the entire North Sea had become a sea on the ground. The cultivators who were floating in the air and watching Lu Ping's technique exclaimed in unison. The seawater that had been pushed away by Lu Ping was now hundreds of millions of kilograms in weight, but it was easily blocked by Lu Ping for several miles. However, Lu Ping's technique was far more than that. Both of his hands made several hand seals in succession, and he suddenly shouted, "Suppress the mountain." The 12 beams of light shot out from the white jade lotus that were secretly connected to the elemental time beads suddenly tightened. The originally thigh-thick beams of light shrank to the thickness of an arm, like a rope that had been pulled taut. Lu Ping raised both of his hands, seemingly using all of his strength at this moment. The entire Huangli Island shook for the 3rd time. However, the shaking this time was different from the previous 2 times. It was as if the entire Huangli Island had been bound together with the 12 beams of light that had been shot out by the white jade lotus. "It's rising! It's rising! Huangli Island is slowly rising." The surrounding cultivators with keen eyesight immediately noticed something. The entire Huangli Island seemed to be slowly rising along with Lu Ping's collapse. The land that was originally submerged by the seawater outside of Huangli Island is also rising. I understand now. Reverend Xianping is not moving the mountains and filling the seas, bringing islands and land from other places to increase the size of Huangli Island. Instead, he is directly raising the entire Huangli Island, exposing the land that was originally submerged under the sea. I'm afraid everyone has already understood by now. There's no need for you to say it. Lu Ping's changing the seas into mulberry fields' great divine ability, with the help of the Grand Formation and the Natal Gentian Array, lasted for a total of 6 hours before it ended. At this time, the surface of the entire Huangli Island had extended to a distance of 3 li, just barely reaching the sea level. The circumference of the entire Huangli Island had increased by 6 li. At this time, no one doubted that Lu Ping had the divine ability to expand the area of Huangli Island. The grand scene of Lu Ping executing the changing the seas into mulberry fields technique had already spread across the entire North Sea. Almost all the cultivators were discussing this new divine ability that Lu Ping had displayed. After resting for 3 days, Lu Ping once again borrowed the Grand Formation to expand the area of Huangli Island. However, this time, he only managed to expand the circumference of the island by 5 li. Thus, every 3 days, Lu Ping would execute the changing the seas into mulberry fields technique. Although the effect was constantly weakening, the entire Huangli Island was still continuously expanding. When he finished executing the changing the seas into mulberry fields technique for the 6th time, the Grand Formation laid down by Hu Lili finally collapsed. The circumference of Huangli Island had expanded by another li. Lu Ping's divine ability to expand the area of Huangli Island had finally come to an end. After executing the divine ability 6 times in a row, the entire Huangli Island had expanded from its original 30 to 40 li radius to nearly 60 li. It had already exceeded the limit of at least 50 li for a small island. It had truly become a small island. Soon, the name of the new divine ability that Lu Ping executed, the changing the seas into mulberry fields technique, was known by all the cultivators of the North Sea. Many cultivators were trying to find out the origin of this divine ability, including many cultivators from the Zhenling sect. Naturally, the cultivators of the North Sea cultivated water-type cultivation techniques the most. However, one of the most scarce resources was land. Therefore, almost all the sects and forces of the North Sea were trying to expand the area of the islands they occupied. In the past, only those who had mastered the moving the mountains and filling the seas divine ability could expand the area of the islands. Only now did the North Sea cultivators realize that cultivators who cultivated water-type cultivation techniques could also expand the area of the islands. Additionally, the cultivators from the overseas regions had no shortage of cultivators who cultivated water-type cultivation techniques. If this cultivation technique could spread, the size of the islands in the North Sea would greatly increase. Additionally, the situation of the North Sea suffering from a lack of cultivation resources would be alleviated to a certain extent. Just when the various sects of the North Sea and the Zhenling sect sent out cultivators to ask enlightened Lu Xianping if he could pass down the inheritance of this divine ability, news came from Huangli Island that enlightened Lu Xianping had gone into secluded cultivation. Chapter 862. The Nachuan Cauldron, the Silver Spirit Flame, the Clear Wood Jade Fruit, and an incense burner that was quietly burning with calming soul incense. The fragrance emitted from the incense burner could help a cultivator calm down and adjust his or her body to its best state. After nearly a month of Lu Ping's vast seas of mulberry field scripture, Huangli Island had successfully expanded into a small island. At this time, Huangli Island could be said to be very lively. Although under Hu Lili's command, the market, cave residences, spirit fields, and port on Huangli Island had been rebuilt, the number of cultivators that came in after Huangli Island was reopened still exceeded Hu Lili and the others' expectations. However, this now did not affect Lu Ping, who was in the secret chamber of the cave residences. The clear wood jade fruit had been in Lu Ping's possession for decades. In order to maximize the effect of this spirit fruit, Lu Ping had not refined it into the clear wood jade pill. At this time, Lu Ping's cultivation had successfully advanced to the 9th stage of the core forging stage. This was the time when the clear wood jade pill could be used to its greatest effect. Moreover, on Huangli Island, Lu Ping did not have to worry about anyone coming to disturb him. Although the lush wood pure jade pellets were avatar-level medicinal pellets, 1 lush wood pure jade fruit could only be used to concoct 3 lush wood pure jade pellets, which was different from the usual amount of 10 medicinal pellets in a cauldron. Hence, Lu Ping hoped to concoct all 3 lush wood pure jade pellets. If it was before, it would be a little difficult for Lu Ping to completely refine the clear wood jade fruit into 3 elixirs. However, after Lu Ping obtained the silver spirit flame, it made Lu Ping much more confident. Although the silver spirit flame of the mid-grade heaven level made the process of refining elixirs twice as long, and the alchemist's inner yuan was greatly consumed compared to other heaven and earth spirit flames, its delicate and gentle fire also greatly increased the success rate of refining elixirs. At this time, the secret room was already filled with the fragrance of pills. He had been operating the pill furnace and adjusting the temperature of the spirit flames for several days straight. His divine sense was constantly paying attention to the situation inside the pill furnace. If it was any other alchemist, this method of alchemy would simply be a form of torture. However, for Lu Ping, other than the prolonged alchemy time and some mental exhaustion, everything else was not a problem. At this time, it was the last moment before the pills came out of the cauldron. The 3 ashwood clear jade pills had already begun the final process of condensing in the cauldron. Outside the cave, Hu Lili was accompanying an old man, waiting for Lu Ping to come out of seclusion. The old man took Hu Lili's spiritual tea and took a sip. He said, "Lass, your spiritual tea is the best. My family's spiritual tea is like washing a pot of water." Hu Lili smiled and said, "This spiritual tea is usually Brother Xian Ping's favorite. I rarely drink it, so there's still quite a lot left. Since you like it, I'll make a bag for you later." The old man's eyes lit up and he said, "That's great. The old man has never been pretentious with you. I've long heard that the spiritual tea here is the best in our sect. It really does live up to its reputation." As soon as the old man finished speaking, a thick fragrance of elixirs had already filled the entire cave. The old man's eyes lit up and his nose sniffed slightly. He said, "Wow, it's a Dharma level elixir, and it looks like it's of a very high level. Finally, it's time to condense the elixir. It's just that this alchemy process is taking too long." If it weren't for the fragrance, the old man would have thought that this kid was purposely hiding from the old man, who Lily knew that the old man in front of her was an expert in alchemy. Just by the smell of the elixir, he could understand a lot about Lu Ping's alchemy process. She smiled and said, "You really are an expert in alchemy in our sect. It looks like you're about to become our sect's 4th alchemy grandmaster. If that's the case, I wouldn't dare to neglect you." The old man had an uncertain expression on his face. He said, "In front of your little lover, the old man wouldn't dare to be arrogant. He is our sect's true alchemy grandmaster. His position in the sect is much higher than mine." Just then, the smell of elixirs in the cave changed slightly. The old man grunted, as if he was suspicious of something. He turned around and looked in the direction of Lu Ping's secret room. Hu Lili was worried about Lu Ping. Seeing the old man like this, she quickly asked, "Uncle Xianyue, is there something wrong?" Xianyue Jinren was one of the oldest alchemy grandmasters in Jinling. He wasn't a disciple of Tianqin Laozu, but his alchemy skills were just below Tianqin Laozu's. In fact, he was even better than Tianqin Laozu's other disciples. Among the several alchemy grandmasters in Jinling, besides Lu Ping and Xianyue Jinren, the others were all disciples or grand disciples of Tianqin Laozu. However, it was undeniable that whether it was Xianyue Jinren or Lu Ping himself, both had received careful guidance from Tianqin Laozu. Tianqin Laozu spared no effort in guiding the younger generation. His prestige in Jinling was extremely high. Because of this, the status of the Dan Pavilion in Jinling had become extremely high. Originally, Xianyue Zhenren was the most promising cultivator in Zhenling to become an alchemy grandmaster after Tianqin Laozu. However, after the emergence of Lu Ping, Xianyue Zhenren had finally touched the boundary of the grandmaster realm. Xianyue Zhenren shook his head with some doubts and said, "The old man is also not too clear. Just now, it seems that martial nephew Xianyue encountered some trouble at the last moment of opening the furnace, but now it seems that this trouble has been solved by martial nephew Xianyue. After all, martial nephew Xianyue Zhenren's alchemy skills are above the old man. Perhaps the old man guessed wrongly." Hu Lili knew what kind of pill Lu Ping was refining, so she naturally knew the preciousness of the azure wood clear jade pill. Only when the azure wood clear jade fruit was completely refined into 3 azure wood clear jade pills, would the cultivator be able to display the best effect after taking it. Inside the secret chamber, Lu Ping's taut heartstrings finally relaxed a little. He had almost failed at the last step. Lu Ping had never thought that he would actually encounter such a rare and strange situation like a spiritual qi furnace explosion. Spiritual qi furnace explosion, in layman's terms, was when there was an excess of spiritual qi in the alchemy furnace, causing the medicinal efficacies of the pills in the alchemy furnace to expand until they were unable to condense and finally exploded. This kind of spiritual qi furnace explosion not only lost the pills in the alchemy furnace, but also because the power of the furnace explosion was too great, the alchemy furnace itself would also suffer serious damage, and even the alchemy master himself would be affected. Usually, when an alchemy master was refining pills, they would often worry about the concentration of spiritual qi in the alchemy furnace being insufficient. In order to smoothly refine pills, they would not hesitate to crush high-grade spirit stones, or even best-grade spirit stones, with the help of the spiritual qi released by the explosion of spirit stones, to make up for the lack of spiritual qi in the alchemy furnace. The spiritual explosion secret technique that Lu Ping had mastered for alchemy was to deal with this kind of sudden situation. However, the spiritual qi furnace explosion was the exact opposite. It was because there was too much spiritual qi in the alchemy furnace, which was a rare occurrence in the process of refining pills. The reason why Lu Ping had encountered such a situation this time was because the spirit meridian in the secret chamber had suddenly merged and condensed. Hu Lili had set up a spirit fusion spell that could shorten the process of the 9 spirit gathering pearls merging into the spirit meridian. Just as Lu Ping was at the final stage of condensing the spirit meridian, 2 of the spirit gathering pearls in the spirit meridian had coincidentally merged into the spirit meridian at the same time, causing the concentration of spiritual qi in the spirit meridian to increase by 2 levels. The spirit meridian in the spirit meridian, which was placed in the middle of the spirit meridian, was so concentrated that it could explode at any time. If Lu Ping had not sensed that something was wrong at the first moment and opened the alchemy furnace to release the excess spiritual qi, used his divine will to prevent the spirit meridian from escaping, and boldly used the spiritual explosion secret technique to maintain the balance of spiritual qi in the alchemy furnace, these 3 ebony jade pills that would make even Dharma adepts jealous would have turned into a pile of ashes. Lu Ping carefully placed the 3 ebony jade pills into the jade essence bottle. Only then did Lu Ping heave a sigh of relief. When he left the secret chamber, he saw Venerable Xianyue and Hu Lili waiting in the cave. Lu Ping paused and felt a little suspicious. However, he quickly smiled and said, "So it's Uncle Xianyue, you are a rare guest." Venerable Xianyue saw Lu Ping's expression and smiled. Old man is not a rare guest, but an uninvited guest. The elixir pavilion has some matters to trouble nephew Xianyue. What's wrong? Did you encounter something wrong when you opened the alchemy furnace just now? Lu Ping looked at Venerable Xianyue in surprise. To be able to sense the situation just now and accurately determine that the alchemy furnace was opened, it meant that Venerable Xianyue's alchemy skills were at least at the level of a half-step grandmaster. Of course, if he was a real grandmaster, he would probably say that Lu Ping had encountered a spiritual qi furnace explosion. In that case, Venerable Xianyue was obviously not a grandmaster. However, Lu Ping still congratulated him. "Uncle, you are only 1 step away from the grandmaster level. Congratulations." After saying this, Lu Ping smiled bitterly and said, "Speaking of which, it's really rare. I actually encountered a spiritual chi furnace explosion." Enlightened Master Xian Yu looked at Lu Ping strangely. Then he chuckled and said, "Other alchemists are afraid that the cauldron won't have enough spiritual energy, so they keep throwing crushed spirit stones into the cauldron. But Martial Nephew, your cauldron is filled with so much spiritual energy that it's about to explode. Hee hee, I've long heard that Huangli Island is about to become a paradise. If this news spreads out, your Huangli Island will be in the limelight again." The two of them chatted for a while. Hu Lili used Huangli Island as an excuse to leave first. Venerable Xian Yue then said, "This time, I hope that nephew can preside over the Elixir Pavilion's alchemy exam and serve as the chief examiner." Lu Ping was surprised and said, "How can this be? Our sect's alchemy exam has always been presided over by Fornak's ancestor. How can it be a junior like nephew's turn to embarrass himself?" Venerable Xian Yue pointed at Lu Ping and laughed, "Nephew, you are being unreasonable. You are a grandmaster alchemist, how can you not be the chief examiner?" Lu Ping waved his hand and said, "It is not that this disciple is being unreasonable. Even if Fornak's ancestor is not willing to preside over this exam, there is still Tianqin Martial Ant. No matter what, it is not my turn to be the chief examiner. Moreover, other than the chief examiner, there are at least 4 other examiners. Presumably, Martial Ant and the other alchemy grandmasters are all examiners. This disciple is a junior after all. If I become the chief examiner, it would be too childish. It is better not to be the chief examiner." Chapter 863. Taoist Master Xian Yu sternly said, "Martial Nephew, don't even think about evading. Not to mention that Tianqin is in closed-door cultivation, the main examiner was appointed by Master Tianlu. Even if Martial Nephew were to be the main examiner, would anyone have any objections? The Pill Pavilion's examination does not look at one's qualifications, but rather one's alchemy skills. With your status as a Grandmaster Alchemist, who in the Pill Pavilion would dare say no?" Taoist Xian Yu happily took a bag of spirit tea cultivated by Lu Ping and left Huangli Island. In the end, Lu Ping couldn't shirk the appointment of the main examiner. Lu Ping pondered for a moment, then shook his hand and released the 3 spirits. As soon as he returned to Huangli Island, Lu Ping wouldn't restrain his spirit pets. Debao was already nowhere to be found. It was said that he was going to hold an underground auction on Huangli Island. Debao was famous on Huangli Island. He had followed Lu Ping through life and death many times, so he didn't lack treasures. However, after decades of development, the cultivators on Huangli Island were no longer limited to blood condensation and early core forging cultivators. Many mid and late core forging cultivators also frequented Huangli Island. Because the teleportation formation on Huangli Island was very strict, most of the mid and late core forging cultivators were from Zhenling and Zhenling's forces. Debao wanted to open the auction, but with his early core forging cultivation, he was far from being able to hold the fort. Thus, Debao tricked Lu Qin into going. Lu Qiner's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 7th layer of core forging. Samling was gradually catching up to her, but she was a wind and fire dual cultivator, so her strength wasn't much weaker than Samling's. She could even fight against 8th or 9th layer core forging cultivators, so she could help Debao. Daguay, on the other hand, had a calm temperament. After returning to Huangli Island, he slept in the spring in Lu Ping's cave residence. At the same time, he looked after the wooling fish eggs that Lu Ping had placed in the spring to nourish. In the beginning, the 3 of them appeared as Lu Ping's mounts and spiritual pets. Debao and Dagay weren't high-grade spiritual beasts, and although Lu Qin was talented, she was still enlightened Master Lu Xuanping's identity, so no one dared to covet her. The only ones that gave Lu Ping a headache were the Amethyst Wasp King Lu Xilan, Peachtree Lu Taohua, and Samling. These 5's identities couldn't be revealed in front of others. Otherwise, it would bring great trouble for Lu Ping. Fortunately, Lu Ping still had 3 demon transformation chakrams on him. Therefore, Lu Ping distributed the 3 demon transformation chakrams and let them take turns to use them. Everyone had the opportunity to play on Huang Li Island. Originally, he promised Tianlin Laozu that he would give one of the demon transformation chakrams to his teacher. However, Lu Tianling Laozu said that he didn't need it for the time being. When he needed it, he would get it from Lu Ping. Therefore, the 3 demon transformation chakrams were still with Lu Ping. As for Lu Shaohai, he was only at the late stage of blood condensation. Furthermore, he had the bloodline of the white forehead race. How could Lu Ping let him out to play? Lu Ping had already locked him up and ordered him to cultivate in seclusion. At this time, Lu Taohua and the Amethyst Queen betook the demon transformation chakram and followed Debao and Lu Qiner to prepare for the auction. Although Lu Ping still had a demon transformation chakram, Samling didn't want to be separated, so he had been playing in the Golden House. Lu Ping took out the spirit vein essence milk that he asked Xie Tianyang to exchange from Tianxin Ancient City and threw it into Lu Hai's hands under his joyful expression. Since Lu Ping got this spirit vein essence milk, Lu Hai had been pestering Lu Ping, hoping to get this spirit vein essence milk. He vowed that he would be able to successfully smelt it and achieve a 9th grade golden core. Lu Ping saw that Lu Hai was only concerned about joy, so he said, "I already have the lightning tribulation water here. This spiritual item was originally prepared for you. Unfortunately, high-grade heaven-step spiritual items are things that can only be encountered by luck. This time, Tianxin City's spiritual item trade fair only got this water attribute high-grade heaven-step spiritual item that is suitable for Lu Hai. In the future, if there is a chance, I will find the same high-grade heaven-step spiritual item for Bai and Ling." Lu Bai and Lu Ling were both overjoyed, but they heard Lu Ping continue, "But the 3 of you must not slack off in your cultivation. If you wait until the 3rd time to smelt the spiritual item, it's fine. After all, I still have the forging spirit pill here. If the difference is too great, you can't smelt the high-grade heaven-step spiritual item. Then I will take back the spiritual item." Samling respectfully agreed. Lu Ping nodded with satisfaction and said, "There are some things that need to be dealt with. Although Father has released the news that there is no need for the sect's Fa Xiang Laozu to guard, Huang Li Island cannot be without a master. The 3 of you are now the strongest fighting force under Father. If the 3 of you join forces, you can even fight against a peak core forging cultivator like 6th Brother Lei. When Father is not on Huang Li Island, you must help your martial uncle Black Fox to protect Huang Li Island." Samling's expression was one of excitement. After all, he was still a child. Lu Ping's words were undoubtedly a great recognition of the 3 of them. Even the most popular Lu Bai couldn't help but say, "Father, don't worry. Just leave it to us." Lu Ping nodded and handed the remaining demon transformation bracelet to Lu Bai. He said, "If there is something that requires your help, don't forget to take back the demon transformation bracelet from Peach Blossom and Zilon." Outside the cave, Lu Ping released a sound-transmitting glyph. Coincidentally, he saw Hu Lily returning to the cave. He told Hu Lily that he was going to be the chief examiner of the Pill Pavilion. Hu Lily frowned and said, "Our sect's cultivation resources were originally in the hands of Fa Xiang Laozu. Except for some important things, Fa Xiang Laozu can use most of the cultivation resources at will. Now that the sect leader has gathered power, even Fa Xiang Laozu can't use these cultivation resources at will." Seeing that Lu Ping was deep in thought, Hu Lily straightforwardly said, "The reason why the Palette Pavilion wants you to be the chief examiner this time, besides the fact that you are indeed a suitable candidate, isn't it also because the Sky Cauldron ancestor hopes that you can obtain a better reward from the sect master?" Lu Ping was stunned for a moment before he said, "That's right. The sect will naturally reward the top few cultivators in the main alchemy exam. Since I'm the main examiner, the rewards can't be too shabby. Otherwise, wouldn't I, the Water Sword Immortal, lose face? In that case, I can only hope that teacher can give me some decent treasures from the sect. This plan is not bad. No wonder Fornax Laozu and Tianqin Laozu are not willing to be the chief examiner. Fornax Laozu is Master's elder and Tianqin martial uncle will not bow to Master. In this case, the chief examiner of the Pill Pavilion can only be me." In a flash of light, 6th Brother Lei had already arrived in front of the cave dwelling. When he saw Lu Ping and Hu Lili talking, he deliberately stopped at a distance and said loudly, "Ladies, I'm going over now. Is it convenient?" Hu Lili's face turned red and she fiercely glared at him before walking into the cave. Only then did sixth brother Lei walk over to Lu Ping with a smile. "Brother Lei, I may have to go out for a period of time. Huang Li Island will not have any experts guarding it. I'll have to trouble Brother Lei to watch over Huang Li Island during this period." Sixth brother Lei nodded and said, "Don't worry." When Lu Ping was traveling in the Central Plains, he received a lot of help from his good friends in the sect on Huang Li Island. However, as the cultivation of these good friends increased, they were now the core strength of the sect and would often be assigned tasks by the sect. Everyone had their own things to do and could not put all of their efforts on Huang Li Island. After Tian Shu Laozu took over Huang Li Island, he plotted to seize control of the island. Although his good friends could not confront him directly because they were from the same sect, they secretly supported him. Otherwise, with Hu Lili alone, she might not even be able to protect Lu Ping's cave. Lu Ping originally wanted to look for Chen Lian to refine and upgrade a few of his transcendent artifacts. However, Chen Lian was no longer on Huang Li Island. His shop was still open and there was a blood condensation realm cultivator working there. It was said that this cultivator was Qin Lian's disciple. This disciple only knew that Qin Lian had returned to Tianling Mountain for a few years. As for why he went back, this disciple did not know. Lu Ping remembered that he heard that Tianjiang Laozu had spent all of his energy on repairing a damaged artifact that martial uncle Tian Lin brought back from the Ying Tian dojo. Even the matters of the refining hall were handed over to his disciple. If Lu Ping's guess was right, this artifact should be Ying Tian Sect's Fei Tian Laozu's personal spiritual treasure, the mountain-splitting axe. This was a spiritual treasure that had gone through 2 lightning tribulations. It could be said to be Jinling's biggest gain in the Ying Tian dojo. One had to know that Lu Ping had heard from his teacher that in the whole of Jinling, there was only one spiritual treasure that had gone through 2 calamities, which was in the hands of Tian Xiang Laozu. It was passed down from Tian Shen Laozu and was the true treasure of Jinling. The other 3 spiritual treasures that had gone through 1 calamity were in the hands of Tian Fan, Tian Shui, and Tian Ling Laozu respectively. Even the other mid-Dharma stage Laozu, Tian Kong Laozu, did not have a spiritual treasure. After obtaining the mountain-splitting axe this time, even though the spiritual treasure itself was severely damaged, it still attracted the attention of the few Laozu of the sect. Tian Xiang Laozu even requested Tianjiang Laozu to repair this spiritual treasure at all costs. Of course, they did not know that Lu Ping had obtained Fei Tian Laozu's pure Yang Soul. Compared to the pure Yang Soul, this mountain-splitting axe was far inferior. Chen Lian had been called to the weapon refining hall for many years and had not returned to Huang Li Island. Obviously, it was because of this mountain-splitting axe. Moreover, Tianjiang Laozu had brought Chen Lian along while he was repairing this treasure. It could be seen that Chen Lian's craftsmanship had reached a higher level and had entered the eyes of Tianjiang Laozu. Without a choice, Lu Ping could only return to Tianling Mountain and go to the weapon refining hall to look for Chen Lian. However, just as Lu Ping came out from the teleportation device, he heard from his teacher that he did not know whether to laugh or cry. Chu Tiansheng Laozu seemed to have some urgent matters to attend to and had brought his disciple, Xinyong Zhenren, back to the Central Plains in a hurry. Chapter 864. Lu Tianling Laozu was chatting with spiritual master Xiansen in the hall of Zhonghuahua. Lu Ping could only wait in the hall. So, although the scale of Mara's appearance on Frost Island is not small, it is not a critical moment. The sects should still be able to deal with it? Lu Tianling Laozu pondered for a moment before asking spiritual master Xiansen who was beside him. Spiritual master Xiansen was currently a peak core forging cultivator with a 7th grade golden core. After Tian Shu Laozu, Zhenling was the 2nd-generation disciple with the highest chance of becoming a Dharma adept. Before this, among Zhenling's 2nd-generation disciples, there was spiritual master Xian Su who also had a high chance of becoming a Dharma adept. Lu Ping had seen the spiritual master Xian Su on Jingzha Island before. Unfortunately, this spiritual master Xian Su did not manage to break through at the last moment after merging with a heaven-rank low-grade spirit object. He only managed to form a 6th-grade golden core and lost the qualification to become a Dharma adept. Spiritual master Xian Sun nodded and said, "That is indeed what martial aunt Tian Shui said." She said that although the calamity of Mara has already descended, up until now, the calamity of Mara in the North Sea cultivation world is not as big as the previous calamity of Mara. Martial aunt Tian Shui means that although the situation is a little strange, we must not let our guard down. Lu Tianling Laozu said, "Martial aunt Tian Shui is right. In that case, send 20 of our sect's 3rd-generation disciples who have advanced to the core forging stage to listen to Martial aunt Tian Shui's orders. They will also be able to be useful when the calamity of Mara fully erupts in the future." Taoist Master Xiansun smiled and said, "Sect head senior sister has thought things through thoroughly. Junior brother will handle this matter as soon as I go down." Coincidentally, Martial aunt Tian Shui has been studying the art of talismans for the past few days. There are many things that she is unwilling to do personally. In this case, it is exactly what she wants. When Lu Ping heard that Tian Shui Laozu was studying the art of talismans on Frost Island, he immediately recalled the talisman inheritance that he had obtained from the Yingtian dojo. Inside the inheritance, it recorded the complete inheritance of the 7-colored restriction-breaking talisman. To Tian Shui Laozu, the #1 expert in the art of Xinling talismans, this was a great attraction. It could be assumed that Tian Shui Laozu was currently studying that inheritance. It looks like I'll have to pay a visit to Senior Grand Aunt Tian Shui on Frost Island after I'm done with the Pill Pavilion. Lu Ping laughed inwardly. After Taoist Master Xiansun left, Lu Ping went up to greet his master with a smile on his face. Tianling Laozu glanced at him and said, "Our sect's Pill Pavilion head has always been presided over by the sect's Pill Pavilion head. Senior Uncle Fornax doesn't want to be the main examiner, nor did he let your senior aunt Tian Qin do it. Instead, he chose you to be the main examiner. What a great honor. Are you here to ask for my help today?" Lu Ping didn't feel embarrassed even though his teacher had seen through his intentions. He smiled and said, "This disciple can't refuse such great kindness. I'm forced to do something beyond my abilities, so I can only come and find teacher to discuss the rules." Lu Tianling Laozu smiled and said, "You don't need to come and find me for this. Although the sect head is in charge of all the sect's affairs, there are still precedents for the Pill Pavilion head examination. You just need to follow the usual practice and take out a prize from the Pill Pavilion's treasury." Lu Ping smiled bitterly and said, "I'll let teacher know that our sect has been prospering under teacher's leadership these past few years. The number of new alchemists in the Pill Pavilion is also higher than in the previous exams. If we still follow the usual practice, it will inevitably hurt the disciples' desire to improve their alchemy. Therefore, I hope that teacher can expand the scope of the prizes and increase the quality of the prizes. This will also give the disciples in the Pill Pavilion something to look forward to and work hard to improve their alchemy skills." Lu Tianling Laozu said directly, "You're only thinking about expanding the scope of the prizes, but you've forgotten that you're still my disciple. If I agree to your request so easily, what will others say?" Lu Ping was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect this. The Pill Pavilion head examination, which originally had precedence, had expanded the scope of the prizes and increased the quality of the prizes when it came to Lu Ping. In the eyes of outsiders, it was naturally to give face to spiritual master Lu Xianping. However, in the eyes of those with ulterior motives, it would seem that the heavenly spirit sect head was biased towards his own disciple and benefiting himself at the expense of the sect. Lu Tianling Laozu saw the troubled expression on Lu Ping's face and couldn't help but smile. "Do you know that in addition to the sect's prizes, the examiners also have to give prizes to the outstanding disciples in the exam?" Lu Ping's expression became very interesting. He said regretfully, "This disciple has been tricked again." So they didn't want this disciple to ask for treasures from teacher. They wanted to extort some treasures from this disciple. Lu Tianling Laozu could see that Lu Ping had misunderstood him a little, but it wasn't like the Pill Pavilion didn't have any intentions of pushing this disciple to the position of examiner. So, he smiled and said, You're not wrong to say that. However, the Pill Pavilion head examination has always been like this. Fornak's master has been presiding over it for hundreds of years, and he has given up countless treasures on him. This is also why Uncle Master Fornax is highly respected in our sect. When it comes to helping the younger generation advance, Uncle Master Fornax has always spared no effort. I believe you've experienced this yourself. Lu Ping nodded. It was undeniable that after his talent in alchemy was discovered by Fornax Laozu, even though Lu Ping had always been outside of the Pill Pavilion, Fornax Laozu had never had any prejudice against Lu Ping. The reason why Lu Ping's alchemy skills had improved so quickly was largely due to Fornax Laozu's wholehearted guidance and support. In the past Pill Pavilion head examination, Fornax Laozu would often pay out of his own pocket to reward the winning disciple in addition to the rewards given out by the sect. Fornax Laozu had been presiding over the Pill Pavilion for hundreds of years, and had conducted more than 10 exams. Who knew how many treasures he had given out for the sect? Lu Tianling Laozu continued, as examiners, the other master alchemists of the sect would often take out their own rewards along with the main examiner. Generally speaking, the quality of the rewards would naturally be lower than the main examiners, but of course, it wouldn't be too low. After all, the main examiner's reward was given to the first-place disciple, so the other examiner's rewards would also be given to the second, third, and fourth-ranked disciples according to their quality. If the rewards were too low, then they would lose a lot of face. Lu Ping had already gradually figured out what was going on from Lu Tianling Laozu's words. This time, he was the main examiner. Even though it was Fornax Laozu who had personally appointed him, there might still be people scheming behind his back. Although Lu Ping could not avoid losing money once, as long as the rewards he took out were of high quality, the other examiners would also have to follow suit and lose money. Lu Ping was still very confident in his own net worth. Things that were of high quality in the eyes of others might not necessarily be that important to Lu Ping. However, if others were to take out rewards that were not that much lower than his own, then he would definitely feel the pinch. After receiving his teacher's instructions, Lu Ping walked out of the palace of Zhonghua in a refreshed manner and headed straight for the Pill Pavilion. At this time, the news that Lu Ping had been personally appointed by Fornax Laozu to be the main examiner of the Pill Pavilion had already spread throughout the entire Pill Pavilion. Even the entire Jinling was talking about it. This time, the Pill Pavilion's examination could be said to be the biggest in Jinling's history. Not only was the number of participants the highest, but the level of the alchemists was also the highest. It was said that there were already a few alchemists who planned to refine pills for the core forging stage during the examination, establishing their status as master alchemists in one fell swoop. One had to know that currently, the entire Jinling only had 3 Grandmaster Alchemists and 5 Master Alchemists. For the currently rising Jinling, every additional Master Alchemist was a joyous event worthy of celebration. Currently, the entire Pill Pavilion was talking about the rewards for the examination. This examination had the highest number of participants, so did it mean that the scope of the rewards for the entire examination would be expanded? Did it mean that the individual rewards would also be increased? These were the main points of discussion in the Pill Pavilion. Of course, many cultivators in the Pill Pavilion were optimistic about this. They believed that Fornax Laozu had personally appointed enlightened Master Lu Xianping as the main examiner in order to obtain more rewards from Lu Tianling. After all, enlightened Master Lu was the last disciple of Lu Tianling Laozu, so it was only natural for him to favor enlightened Master Lu more. However, there were also cultivators who disapproved of this. They believed that Lu Tianling was now at a critical moment in his control of the sect. Many cultivators in the entire sect were paying attention, and Lu Laozu would definitely treat all the affairs of the sect equally. There was no reason for him to be biased. They believed that enlightened Master Lu would eventually choose to dilute the amount of individual rewards on top of the fixed rewards to expand the scope of the rewards. Not long after, Lu Ping announced in the Pill Pavilion that the total amount of rewards for this examination would increase due to the expansion of the scope of the rewards, but the total amount of individual rewards would not change much. The only difference was that the original reward for the sect would be expanded from the top 5 to the top 10, while the amount of rewards for the 6th to 10th place would be the same. When the news came, although the cultivators in Jinling were somewhat disappointed, it was still reasonable. After all, although Jinling was very prosperous now, it was still very tight on various aspects. It was not easy for enlightened Master Lu Xianping to obtain these rewards. At the same time, it could be seen that the sect leader was indeed selfless, treating even his youngest disciple equally. However, there was immediately another news from the Pill Pavilion. It was said that although the rewards for this examination were mediocre, the master examiners wanted to use this examination to motivate the alchemists in the sect. Therefore, the individual rewards for the examiners would definitely be extremely generous. Once this news was leaked, it immediately spread throughout the whole of Jinling. Almost all the alchemists in Jinling, including the various affiliated forces and families, were eager to get started. Everyone knew that the main examiner, enlightened Master Lu Xianping, was known as the treasure boy in the past, and the treasures he had could be said to be endless. Today, enlightened Master Lu Xianping was a ruthless character who could even beat up a Dharma manifestation cultivator. How could he be lacking in treasures? After hearing these rumors, Lu Ping just laughed it off. These rumors were obviously deliberately spread by the alchemists in the Pill Pavilion. This was to force Lu Ping to spend a lot of money, and it was not without the help of the alchemy masters. Lu Ping could not be bothered to argue with them. On the day of the examination, he would definitely make each and every one of them cut their own flesh with him. At that time, we will see who will suffer more. Lu Ping's light flashed and he had already arrived at the back mountain of the Pill Pavilion, in front of Fornax Laozu's cave. Although Lu Ping was in charge of the Pill Pavilion, Fornax Laozu was the master of the Pill Pavilion after all. Some things still had to be done by him. Of course, this time, Lu Ping was also here to take advantage of the situation. Although Fornax Laozu could be said to have worked hard for the Pill Pavilion, Lu Ping would not fall into his trap for no reason. Chapter 865. When Lu Ping saw Fornax Laozu, the old man was sitting quietly in the cave, holding a paper book in his hand, trying to figure out something. Lu Ping saw that the Fornax Cauldron ancestor was ignoring him, but he didn't want to disturb him. But when he saw a small incense burner not far from the Fornax Cauldron ancestor, an idea popped up in his head. An elegant and lingering fragrance wafted out from the furnace. Fornax Laozu put down the book in his hand in surprise and asked Lu Ping, "Soul-calming incense?" Lu Ping quickly handed over a small box and said, "Martial uncle is wise. This is the last of the 3 great incense, soul-calming incense. Disciple was lucky enough to get a few pieces in the Middle Earth. I offer them to martial uncle as a sign of filial piety." There were 3 pieces of soul-calming incense in the small box. Fornax Laozu took it and put it aside. He glanced at Lu Ping and said, I heard that you gave your teacher 3 pieces of soul-calming incense. Why did you drop a grade after getting the old man?" Lu Ping was very embarrassed. He didn't know how this matter was known to the person in front of him, so he quickly said, "Disciple only got a few pieces of soul-calming incense in the Middle Earth. Soul-calming incense is even rarer than soul-calming incense. Disciple had no choice, I can't just give one." He didn't know that after Lu Ping gave Lu Tianling Laozu 3 pieces of soul-calming incense and 3 pieces of soul-calming incense, it caused a small storm among the Jinling Laozu. After Lu Tianling received the soul-calming incense, he happily lit a small piece of soul-calming incense in the hall of Zhonghua. However, he didn't expect Chu Tiancheng Laozu to return to the Middle Earth because of his battle with Lu Ping. He was in a hurry to bid farewell to Lu Tianling Laozu and just barged into the hall of Zhonghua. Elder Chu Tiancheng was, after all, a Dharma adept. He had traveled the central mainland for many years and had seen many things. With one look, he recognized that the fragrance wafting through the palace of Zhonghua was one of the 3 famous soul incenses in the training world, the soul-stabilizing incense. This time, the secret couldn't be kept any longer. The few Laozu in Jinling immediately knew that Lu Tianling Laozu had the soul-calming incense. Even Tian Shui Laozu, who was far away on Frost Island, and Tian Kong Laozu, who was on Huanyu Island, also sent a message to ask about the soul-calming incense. In the end, even Tian Xiang Laozu was alerted. Lu Tianling Laozu had no choice but to give up Lu Ping. However, he also secretly set up many ambushes for Lu Ping. Thanks to the incident with Tian Shu Laozu, the other Laozu in the sect didn't want to provoke Lu Ping too much. When they heard Lu Tianling Laozu say that Lu Ping didn't have many soul-calming incense on him, they believed him. After all, it was already very lucky for them to have a few of these rare treasures. If they knew that Lu Ping not only had dozens of soul-calming incense on him, but he also had a few lush soul-calming trees in the House of Gold, even Lu Tianling Laozu himself might not be able to hold himself back. Although the 3 soul-calming incense were rare in Lu Ping's eyes, he didn't cherish them to the point where he needed to alert the few Laozu in the sect. However, what he didn't know was that although the 3 soul-calming incense had the effect of nourishing the divine will, they were mostly used by the practitioners when they were training in seclusion or when they were trying to understand their techniques. However, the effect of the 3 soul-calming incense on Dharma adepts had been greatly underestimated by Lu Ping. After a practitioner entered the Dharma stage, it was difficult to take another step forward. The foundation of a Dharma adept was naturally on the Dharma stage. The 3 soul-calming incenses' effect on the Dharma stage far exceeded Lu Ping's expectations. Not only could it restore the vitality of the Dharma stage, but it could also strengthen the spirituality of the Dharma stage and promote the integration of the divine will and the Dharma stage. Although the 3 soul-calming incense could not directly increase the level of practice of a Dharma adept, the benefits it brought to the Dharma adept could only be gradually shown over time and was irreplaceable. Tianlu Laozu didn't think that Lu Ping was lying. It wasn't because of Tianling Laozu's explanation, but because Tianlu Laozu didn't believe that Lu Ping could have many soul-calming incense on him. Therefore, the 3 soul-calming incense that Lu Ping had brought were very valuable. After all, Tianlu Laozu also knew that no matter what, he could not compare to Tianling Laozu's position in Lu Ping's heart. Tianlu Laozu kept the 3 soul-calming incense and secretly decided that these 3 soul-calming incense must be used when he was in seclusion. If he lit them in the cave like Tianling, not only would it be a waste, but it would also attract other people. Perhaps these 3 soul-calming incense could not be kept. Tianlu Laozu kept the 3 soul-calming incense and looked at the smiling Lu Ping. He said, "Tell me, what do you want?" Lu Ping received the smile and said seriously, "I want a piece of sky hearthstone." Tianlu Laozu was shocked and slapped the small box in front of Lu Ping. He said, take it. This soul-calming incense old man doesn't want it anymore." Lu Ping expected that Tianlu Laozu would refuse, but he didn't think that Tianlu Laozu would refuse so thoroughly. He couldn't help but ask with a smile, "Martial uncle, if this disciple knows the sky hearthstone correctly, there should be 3 pieces in the pill pavilion. It's not too much for this disciple to take one, right?" Tianlu Laozu glared at him and said, "You little brat, what do you know? Our sect has been passed down for 10,000 years, but we have only accumulated these 3 pieces of sky hearthstone. How valuable do you think it is? Not to mention 3 soul-calming incense, even if you give the old man 3 heaven-rank spiritual objects, I won't exchange it." Seeing Lu Ping's dumbfounded expression, the Fornax Cauldron Grandmaster's face relaxed a little. Then, he thought of something and asked, "Brat, you want the Fornax stones to improve your Nachuan Cauldron and condense the 2nd enchantment?" The quality of Lu Ping's Nachuan Cauldron was extremely high. After condensing the 1st treasure restriction, it was far from reaching its limit. He only needed to smelt 1 sky hearthstone and he would be able to start condensing the 2nd treasure restriction. Previously, when the Pill Pavilion announced the reward rules of the examination, he went to the Pill Pavilion's treasury to inspect. Now that he was an alchemy grandmaster and the Pill Pavilion's chief examiner, he was naturally qualified to see the Pill Pavilion's wealth. The 3 sky hearthstones were stored in the most important place in the Pill Pavilion. After Lu Ping saw them, he naturally remembered them. That was why he first asked for the sky hearthstone when he saw Tianlu Laozu. Lu Ping knew that the sky hearthstone was precious. After all, It was something that could improve the quality of a pill furnace. How could it be compared to ordinary treasures? But he didn't expect that Tianlu Laozu would care so much about the sky hearthstone. However, thinking that Junling had only accumulated 3 sky hearthstones after 10,000 years of inheritance, its preciousness must be far beyond what Lu Ping had expected. So, Tianlu Laozu's previous overreaction was understandable. Lu Ping chuckled and said, "Martial Uncle Master, among the few pill furnaces in our sect, other than this disciple's Na Chuan cauldron, which one can use the sky hearthstone?" Tianlu Laozu was silent when he heard this. Although Junling had 2 magic treasure-level pill furnaces, other than Lu Ping's Na Chuan cauldron, the quality of the other pill furnace controlled by Tianlu Laozu was far from enough to condense the second treasure restriction. As for the other top-grade pill furnaces of Junling, they didn't even have the qualifications to be promoted to magic treasures. Lu Ping saw that Tianlu Laozu was silent and knew that there was still a chance. So, he continued, "Although this disciple hasn't been in the pill pavilion for a long time, I'm still a disciple of our sect. Upgrading the Na Chuan cauldron will also increase the strength of our sect, right?" Tianlu Laozu snorted coldly, "Easy for you to say. Do you know how difficult it is to smelt the sky hearthstone? If it's not done properly, this priceless sky hearthstone will be useless. Your Na Chuan cauldron's quality will still not be able to be upgraded. But if the sky hearthstone isn't used, it's just a stone in the end. Even if it's priceless, what use can it have? Isn't it a waste to leave it in the pill pavilion's treasury?" Tianlu Laozu snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Lu Ping thought for a while and said, "How about this disciple use that thing to exchange for it?" Tianlu Laozu snorted coldly and didn't say anything. Lu Ping thought for a while and said, "How about this disciple use that thing to exchange for it?" Tianlu Laozu glanced at Lu Ping and said, "What are you going to exchange for it?" Lu Ping gritted his teeth and stretched out his hand. A scarlet flame quietly jumped in his palm. Tianlu Laozu said in surprise, "You obtained a heaven stage spirit flame. You don't want this thing?" Then, Tianlu Laozu reacted and said, "Kid, you got a heaven stage spirit flame. You don't want this thing?" Lu Ping put the scarlet spirit flame in a jade box and pushed it in front of Tianlu Laozu. He said, "Martial Uncle, this is a heaven stage spirit flame. The scarlet spirit flame is a spirit flame that's more suitable for alchemy. It's enough for a pill master to use until the Grandmaster realm." The Fornax ancestors snorted angrily. "I've said before that the Fornax stone is extremely precious. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to exchange it for 3 heaven-class spirit items. You want to exchange it for a superior earth-class spirit fire?" Lu Ping smiled and said, "The sky hearthstone is rare, but its true value may not be worth 3 heaven-stage spirit objects. Moreover, didn't this disciple give you 3 pieces of soul incense as a show of respect?" Seeing that Tianlu Laozu was about to explode again, Lu Ping hurriedly said, "Of course, the soul incense is a show of respect to you, so it doesn't count. However, this disciple has decided to spend a lot of money for the pill pavilion's head exam. Seeing that this disciple wants to contribute to the sect, Martial Uncle, please be magnanimous and give the sky hearthstone to this disciple." Tianlu Laozu felt a headache coming on from Lu Ping's pestering. He helplessly waved his hand and said, "Get lost, get lost. The pill pavilion's treasures need your master's permission before you can borrow them. Moreover, the sky hearthstone is such a treasure. Don't bother the old man." Lu Ping was overjoyed. As long as Tianlu Laozu agreed, his master would absolutely not object. He smiled and said, "Then this disciple will leave." "Wait." Tianlu Laozu looked at the red spirit flame on the table and asked, "What kind of spirit flame do you use for alchemy now? If it's not convenient, you can use this red spirit flame first." Lu Ping was grateful in his heart, but his face was still smiling. He spread out his palm again, and the silver spirit flame burned like a quietly flowing river, giving people a very strange feeling. Silver spirit flame. You even managed to get your hands on such a good thing? Tianlu Laozu looked at the slowly fluctuating flame in Lu Ping's hand with a trace of envy in his eyes. Just as Lu Ping was about to leave Tianlu Laozu's cave, he suddenly heard Tianlu Laozu say behind him, It's not easy to smelt the sky hearthstone. In our sect, other than the Nachuan cauldron, I'm afraid no other pill furnace has the qualifications to upgrade it. You should take another sky hearthstone as a backup, just in case something unexpected happens. This time, Lu Ping sincerely bowed to Tianlu Laozu and said, "Thank you, Laozu. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.